Guys, the freaking Carolina Panthers cannot catch a break. Cannot catch a break. QB1 Andy Dalton involved in a car accident last night. Thankfully, Cole, doesn't seem as if anyone is seriously injured.
Yes.
This was the reports, what we know from WBTV there in Charlotte. Quote, Carolina Panthers quarterback Andy Dalton was involved in a vehicle crash on Tuesday afternoon. According to a Panthers spokesperson, the Panthers state that Dalton was headed westbound on Sardis Road, approaching Providence Road. Dalton was in the vehicle with his wife, 3 children, and dog. The team spokesperson states that no one from Dalton's family was transported by any emergency medical personnel. He is being evaluated by team medical personnel. So that's good news. That's good news. Like nobody's hurt. Nobody's going to the hospital. Outside of that, we don't know a ton more. I'm not familiar with Sardis Road in Charlotte. Is it a 45 mile an hour road? Is it a 55 mile an hour? I don't know. So good news there that Andy Dalton is safe, that his family is safe, that nobody was injured. But if you go look at the Carolina Panthers depth chart, Cole, he's currently listed as questionable for the game, which, it makes a lot of sense. You were just in a car crash. So without knowing the extent of the injuries that Andy and his family suffered, we don't know if Andy is going to fly to Denver to play on Sunday, 4:25 kickoff game against the Broncos. And that's a game, Cole, that just before Andy Dalton went on a losing streak, this Andy Dalton led Panthers team. I don't want to put it on Andy.
Yeah.
Before the losing streak began, we looked at this as a potentially winnable game for the Carolina Panthers. Well, now if they have to start Bryce Young, and if they have to pull somebody off the practice squad to be back up to Bryce, I don't like the Carolina Panthers' chances.
No,
not that I liked them much to begin with, Cole, but I like him even less.
Well, first of all, it goes back to what you just said. The main thing is everybody's safe.
Mm-hmm.
However, it also goes back to the conversation you and I were having yesterday or earlier this week about this team's not good. It might just be a little unfair to say that it falls directly on the shoulders of Andy Dalton or Bryce Young. And ultimately, what we've seen thus far in 2024 is that regardless of who the quarterback is, it doesn't matter. This team's not good. They've got to have Superman. And I don't mean Cam Newton. I mean literal Superman at quarterback in order to get this team to be worth a crap. So, first of all, it's terrible that happened, the car wreck. Like I said, good thing everybody's okay. If he didn't get in an ambulance, it seems as if he might just be, sore. And you know what? You just take some ibuprofen and he'll probably be okay with the NFL and the shots and everything, the medical resources that the NFL has, right?
Get one of them Bud Kilmer shots.
Yeah, just shoot him up and throw him on the plane. He'll be fine.
Cortisone's a hell of a drug.
It is. I think, again, I don't have any inside information. I think he'll go. I think he'll fly. Again, if he's not banged up seriously to a head injury, concussion, something like that could happen for a wreck or could happen in a wreck, I don't see it keeping him off the flight. But if he does not, and it were to be Bryce Young's show again, I'm to the point now where I just simply don't think it matters, Diesel, who the quarterback is, because like I said, the team has shown that it doesn't matter if it's Andy or Bryce. Neither one of them are any good.
Yeah, that's, we're talking about a team that's so bereft of talent at just about every major position.
And banged up.
I think the only position the Carolina Panthers are kind of okay at right now is the wide receiver room. And that's even with Adam Thielen being injured and being out, right? Yeah, DeAndre Johnson's good. Xavier Legette's coming on, playing fairly well as a rookie. You've got an okay wide receiver room for the Carolina Panthers. You've got an okay running back. But outside of that, everything else sucks. Every unit is banged up. Even where you got units with talent, Cole, some of that talent is banged up. So now you're down. Your depth is down. And you have to have depth in the NFL if you want to win football games, especially this late in the season. And the Carolina Panthers just don't have it, Cole. And so I'm questioning here in this segment, and I want to put the GM hat on you. I want to put the GM hat on every single Tolo who's listening to the show, which means turn it on, leave it on. You're now the GM of the Carolina Panthers. Congratulations, Dan Morgan. You're fired. You are now in the position. What are you doing here at the trade deadline?
Mm.
What are you are you even trying to do anything here at the trade deadline? The truth is you don't have any cash, right? If you go look at their cap situation, they're at the bottom of the league as far as cap space available to them. That's going to change in a couple of years, but as of right now, you got no money. So you can't say just go out there and get somebody, go out there and get this guy, that guy, whoever it may be. You don't have that available to you.
You don't.
You don't. So what are you going to do? You're going to probably be signing a bunch of dudes off somebody else's practice squad just to put bodies on the field.
That's right, depth.
And hope that, you can just make it up next year in the draft.
I think depth right now is the only thing. I don't see them being a serious contender before the deadline to make a move, especially at the quarterback position. As of right now, I think they're stuck with –
Hey, this is Bryce Young.
I think they're stuck with Bryce Young. I think they're stuck with Bryce.
How come that clip doesn't say, hey, this is Bryce Young, backup quarterback for the Carolina Panthers?
We haven't gotten the script sent to Bryce yet. And for whatever reason, it's not being they don't want to do that. They don't want to send.
Hey, this is Bryce Young, QB2 of the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, right. It seems as if we're stuck with Bryce. Look, I don't think there's anything you do. We've had this conversation, not with just the Carolina Panthers, but also other teams in our coverage area. If you're a bad football team, Diesel, what is the point in going out and mortgaging your future or a good player that you do have to try to win now? I remember an illustration I'll use for the Braves fans out there. I remember when Braves fans were absolutely livid that the Braves let go of Craig Kimbrell, right? They let him go, and it took a few months for Braves fans to realize, Diesel, you know what? There's no point in having the best closer in baseball if the team sucks, right? So I think you're in a similar situation here. Your team's not good. You don't really have like any clear direction of someone in free agency who will come in and immediately make this team better. To your point, I think it's probably more a depth issue, getting guys off the practice squad if they do participate at the trade deadline. But I don't see it. If I were the GM, I'm not going after a quarterback here. You're to the point now where you are who you are, and there's not much makeshifting in my mind that's going to save you.
Yeah, we're now 8 days, 10 days away from the trade deadline, Tuesday, November 5th. I'm not great at math here, especially when we're talking about multiples of 7. We are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I'm good at
13 days
touchdowns.
away. We're 13 days away from the trade deadline, Cole. So things are just now starting to really get going. We heard earlier today that the Chiefs have acquired DeAndre Hopkins from the Titans. They just keep getting more and more and more talent, which the only thing that concerns me about that, I mean, I don't know what the details of the DeAndre Hopkins contract is going to be, Cole. I mean, maybe it's a 1-year deal. Maybe it's a 2-year deal. My only fear for the Chiefs is that they end up kind of like the Golden State Warriors, where they just get old. And I mean, hey, if it works, if you're still winning titles, keep doing it, bro. Like, who am I to tell you not to keep doing it? But eventually, as this team gets older and older and older, you're going to hit that point where the little teeter-totter falls the wrong direction.
I think it has a lot to do with the Rashee Rice injury, going and getting DeAndre Hopkins, which I think it's a good option for Patrick Mahomes. But Diesel, I'll tell you this. You asked the question, if I were the Panthers GM, man, I don't know. Like, if I'm sitting here today on October the 23rd at 3:00 in the afternoon, and I'm sitting here today as the GM of this Panthers team, and you talk about the trade deadline and the options and everything that you have the potential to do, I don't know, as the GM, I don't even know which direction to go. This team's so bad. This team is such in a bad spot, Diesel. You know what? Obviously, you want to have a lot of football guys in the room who can help you out and point you in the right direction. But at this point, I'm not advocating that losing is the best option here. However, I don't see a better option at the moment than tanking for a high draft pick.
Well, tanking, a lot of people believe that means making moves to intentionally make your team worse.
Yeah, you don't have to.
They don't have to. They're just not. They're not good enough to win. They're not good enough anywhere to win. They're not deep enough anywhere to win. It just is what it is. Madcraft, putting on his GM hat, says, I'd ask the Chiefs what it would take to get Mahomes. If it involves selling the stadium, I'd do it. If you sell the stadium, Madcraft, do the Chiefs also get the rights to all the concerts that are coming?
I was going to say, where would Luke Combs perform at Saturday, right? I mean, what are they going to do?
Am I now going to have to fly to Arrowhead to watch a concert for Carolinas? JB says it was just announced that JB will be starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers against the Broncos on Sunday. I'll wear jersey number 007. I'll be the oldest starting quarterback in NFL history at 48.
I like T. Swizzle's comment, Diesel. Let both quarterbacks go. Don't have a quarterback get Beck in the draft. I don't even know, man. T. Swizzle, I just don't know that that's the answer either.
And to be serious here for a second, Madcraft did point out earlier, you have to take into account the internal trauma, and depending on the crash, his hip, shoulder, ankles, and feet could have been banged up. That is very true. And that's kind of where I was going with this. Certainly, you're not going out there and trying to trade for Kirk Cousins or somebody like that, who, by the way, people have been asking, what would it take to get Kirk Cousins out of Atlanta? And they said, well, we're going to roll with Kirk until he stops winning. Right. And then we'll make the move to Michael Penix. We're not going to move on from Kirk Cousins until he stops winning. But if Andy can't go, you can't fly out with literally just one quarterback on the plane.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's a wide receiver on the roster that played quarterback in high school or something. But is that really how far down the Carolina Panthers are right now? Is repurposing a thin wide receiver room to play backup quarterback in the NFL just so that you don't have to go. So they're going to have to go get somebody depending on just how healthy Andy Dalton is right now. If he is in football playing health, there's a difference between walking around health, sitting here in a studio talking on a microphone health, and playing quarterback in the NFL health. So they may fly out there with him and start Bryce and assume that they are not going to have to play Andy Dalton because of maybe some inflammation in his hip or shoulder or whatever.
I don't know that I could do it, Diesel. I ran a chainsaw all morning and can barely talk into a microphone. If I got into a car wreck and you asked me 3 days later to play an NFL game, I'd probably say, yeah, I'll see y'all next week when y'all get back to Charlotte to train. I'm good. Thanks, though. I'll be right here in my $3 million home in Charlotte or wherever Andy Dalton lives. Texter on the text
Lake Norman somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere on Lake Norman. 71307. Texter says, if you lose 34-0 to the Commanders, the only thing you can say about the Panthers is every game is potentially losable. not wrong there. Texter says, what's crazy is we are going to possibly trade Johnson when our wide receiver room is our only strong suit. So trade him, and it won't be ? Texter says, pretty good Bryce impersonation. Diesel, do it again.
Hey guys, this is Bryce Young, former quarterback of the Carolina Panthers.
That's funny. Bad, but funny. Texter says Titans Chiefs are splitting the salary, and Titans get a 5th round pick, maybe a 4th, depending on performance. Texter says, if I'm the GM, I trade Bryce for picks and tanking as well. Shane Barrett. Shane, you are an hour too early to the party. We cannot let you in yet. You know, Tolos, what we're talking about. You're an hour too early. Please turn around and go kill an hour and then come back.
Isn't Shane down in Alabama somewhere now?
Tuscaloosa.
He moved to Tuscaloosa. Yeah,
he's listening from Tuscaloosa.
Well, it's only 2:15.
2:15 there
in Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
So you're off, Shane. You got to wait.
Texter says, after JB was announced as starting quarterback, the spread in Vegas for the game Sunday actually decreased 2 points. Philip Rollins says, hell, Carolina just run the Wildcat all game. I was thinking the same thing. I really was. Tolo Phil says they got to go get a dog, not that soft-spoken Bryce Young.
Hey, I ask the question all the time, jokingly, why don't we just run the veer?
Yeah.
It's an option offense designed for offenses that don't have a very good offensive line.
Tolo Phil, what do you mean soft-spoken?
That sounds like us in a nutshell.
He's not soft-spoken, is he?
Hey, this is Bryce Young, and when my voice breaks, I swear I'm going to get me a girl.
Oh, God. That is awful.
Spread on this game, by the way, right now is Denver favored by 7.5.
7.5. Okay. It will be interesting to see if that line changes between now and Sunday. Tiger Pal Rachel on the text line. Text line, very interactive. Tolo's good to see you on the text line. Be sure to sign your name, just like Tolo Phil did, just like Philip Rollins did, just like Tiger Pal Rachel did. Tiger Pal Rachel says there is so much, all caps, so much to fix at Carolina. One high draft pick is not going to be enough. Get a decent quarterback and put the pieces around him. Let me click on the rest of the text here. Biggest thing, Tepper needs to let the football guys make decisions. And Diesel, I think Tiger Pal Rachel hit the nail on the head. That goes back to my Braves point with Craig Kimbrell. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. You're not good enough for it to matter who your quarterback is.
And you're not going to go get anyone in a trade. You're not going to, great. You could go get Derek Carr from New Orleans because maybe they're thinking it's time to move on from him. But you still got Derek Carr.
Let me ask this question. Serious question here. And I'm sure our Tolos will chime in heavily. Let's say, as bad as this team is, Tolos, one-win team, right? They've won one time this season. If you take Andy Dalton out right now with the pieces you have and plug Patrick Mahomes in, are you going to be worlds better, in your opinion, Tolos?
Well,
worlds better.
Patrick Mahomes is the best when it comes to faking broken plays. Well, now he wouldn't have to fake it anymore.
He'd do it every play.
Yeah, they're just all broken plays.
Yes, true. You know what? They wouldn't even have to call plays.
Right.
Just snap the ball and run. And if there's an open receiver, you'll throw it to him.
Yeah.
Look, I think there are a few games better, but the defense still isn't really good. The offensive line still has major issues. I think they win right now. I think they win 4 to 6 games with Patrick Mahomes. Is that unfair? 4 to 6?
If we hit restart on the season,
or just
from now on,
just throw him in. Yeah, from now on.
He could win 4 games by himself. He's the kind of guy that can make players play better than themselves.
JD says Mahomes couldn't win more than 5 games with his team. JD, I don't disagree. James says Tepper cares more about his NFL team than his MLS team, and the other is in the playoffs. Madcraft says yes. I don't know what. Yes, maybe to the Mahomes question. Texter says Bryce Young sounds like Michael Jackson in that clip. That comes from Alex in Fountain Inn. He kind of does, doesn't he?
Hey, this is Bryce Young. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got 1 million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with.
Terrible. You are terrible. And the other station that you're on, don't y'all carry the Panthers, aren't you? I mean, don't you Panther fan, don't talk like that. You wear a Panthers hat in this studio many times. The bottom line is I think the team's bad. And regardless of who the GM and quarterback is, they just need a lot of help. And I could not agree more with Tiger Pal Rachel. There's just so much to fix. You've got to just quit worrying about the quarterback situation and start, putting the building blocks in one step at a time. Mike Main says with Mahomes on this team, nothing changes. You can't polish a turd. Ooh. Mike Main, you don't think they're any better? I think he wins a few games. He's that good.
Hey, this is Bryce Young. I'm a big kid now.
Why, what's your name?
It's Wire to Wire. Diesel and Cole Bryson. Guys, coming up at 4 o'clock, we're going to get your upset pick. So you got 42 minutes to start gathering your games that you're interested in. You can let us know if there's games you're looking at. We might be able to talk you out of them, or you could just wait until 4 o'clock and get those in. We've already got our celebrity guest picks in. They're busy people, right? We don't make them wait until 4 o'clock to send theirs in. A lot of them, Cole, are taking Vandy.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
I won't tell you who yet has taken Vandy.
Are you We've
got
me?
three celebrity picks already taken Vandy.
Okay, before we run to a break, and there was a very important question asked on the stream by Wesley about who won the knockout game yesterday. We'll answer that question on the other side of the break. We'll make you hang through the break. But first, let's get to Dewey, our daily Dewey. He wants to chime in, 844 fan phone. What's up, Dewey?
First of all, the Carolina Panthers need to be kicked out of Charlotte. They don't even need to be around no more. And Bryce Young's a little girl, and he don't need to be talking on the radio. He don't need to be talking at all.
You don't like Bryce Young, Dewey?
Banned from football.
What's your beef? What's your beef with Bryce, Dewey?
He should be banned from football. He ruined the Panthers. Along with the coach.
Panthers.
Shane Beamer couldn't even save the Panthers.
Dewey, you and Bryce sound a little bit identical.
But I'm not a little girl. He's a little girl.
Thanks, Dewey.
How much would Carolina Panthers pay to get Matt Rule back right now?
No
That's
joke.
where we are.
No joke.
That's where we are.
That's the smartest thing that's been said thus far. I mean, you're right. You're right. Matt Rule wasn't the problem. The owner and so much more are the problem. Wesley will answer your question on the other side about who won the knockout challenge. We will also get into a little Shane Beamer conversation. I have a question about Shane Beamer for you Gamecock Tolos that you don't want to miss next. The question was asked. We were hoping we would not get asked the question. You know how, like, when you're in school, Diesel, and you didn't turn in your assignment, and you're just hoping the teacher doesn't call on you?
Yeah.
Well, that's how we felt.
You sit in the back. Keep your
Yeah,
head
you just
down.
keep your head down. If you wear a hoodie
yeah.
that day, you just kind of put your hoodie over your head. And you kind of lay low, right? Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not. Wesley Roberts on the Facebook stream. We love Wesley. he asked the question, how'd you guys do in the celebrity free throw shooting contest yesterday?
Neither of us won.
No. So let me tell you this. I got one shot attempt up. My very first shot, Wesley and Utolo's out there. I shot. I did hit the rim, unlike somebody. I missed. And then the guy behind me, who was a super athletic guy, he was a student athlete at USC Upstate. He was like super tall, super athletic. I had no shot. He made the shot. And I'm telling you, I literally got one shot up yesterday.
So this wasn't fair. They brought out the handful of us celebrities. It was you and I. It was the singer Lyric that was doing the pre-show.
Yeah.
The pre-kickoff.
She was awesome, by the way.
She was great on stage. They were up there, and there was Jeremy Clements was out with us, and I think one more celebrity.
Yeah,
and then they said, hey, we're a little short. We need some more people.
Yeah.
And they go, dude had to have been a ringer. Like, he was a ringer. They pointed right at this guy in the crowd, went right to him. He was dressed in street clothes, but the dude, you could tell, was a player.
And two basketball players.
Yeah, and two basketball players.
Yeah.
One male player, one female player from the team.
So our chances were shot.
Yeah, we were, I looked around, I saw this guy behind me. I was like, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair.
I was like, I'm like two people away from an athlete here,
Yeah.
from an actual in uniform athlete. This isn't fair.
And by the way, I literally got one shot attempt up.
Yeah.
It did hit the rim, but we got no warm-up shots. We got no practice. So all I shot was one shot.
I'm sure you, like me, Cole, I have not touched a basketball but like twice in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Like,
how about the MC when you missed? He said, and that's why you're on radio.
Yeah. Yeah, I was so nervous. I was like, don't airball it. Don't airball it. Don't airball it. And then I air mailed it over the backboard.
And now there's a broken window in the BB&T building downtown Spartanburg.
You're like, see, here's the crazy thing, Cole, is I almost got my rebound back and put it in and stayed alive, but I missed that rebound. I missed that layup too. So
at least you got more than one shot.
It was an ugly performance from both of us. My performance was uglier than yours.
Thanks.
And we knew that this was going to happen. We knew that we were getting a call from Dan B. today.
I know, what the crap?
Dan B is just itching for the opportunity to call in and make fun of us both, but mostly me because I didn't even hit backboard, Cole.
Was it that bad, DB?
Yeah.
It was that bad. I'm not sure the ball has re-entered the earth yet.
It's like you hear him say like that phrase, college kickers, right? Like college kickers, they're nervous. They're not ready for this. I wasn't ready for that, man. I wasn't ready. I just came with too much power.
And DB, we didn't get any warm-up practice.
None.
Man.
No,
it's not fair.
But what a great crowd it was. And DB, it was good to see you and other Tolos out there as well, man.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. 2 years in a row we've been there for the event. So I try to have to make it a regular thing.
That's right. And DB, before we let you go, you feeling good about 4 o'clock today?
I am. I think I already have my pick.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
Coming in early this time.
Well, we can't wait to hear it, DB.
All right.
That's DB. You can call the show 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663.
And Cole, we had, we were saying just a phenomenal time yesterday.
Oh, God.
A phenomenal event. What USC Upstate puts on out there is top notch.
Awesome.
It is top notch.
How about the food?
The food was incredible.
My gosh.
But like the type of event that we had, and as we were talking to officials from USC Upstate, they were saying this is Power 5 level fun that we're having here. The type of event that we're putting on rivals what Auburn does at their like tip off at Toomer event, I think is what he said it was called. Ole Miss has an event just like this that they do at the Grove. And I'm telling you, man, it was a top notch. You couldn't ask for anything better. And they made a big announcement during the event yesterday, Cole, that the event next year is going to move right down the street to the home of the Spartan Burgers.
Yep.
And it's not because the space that they have isn't big enough or that it's too big or anything like that. They were telling us, Cole, that there's some huge plan to completely redo all of Morgan Square. to where it's going to be pedestrian only, no street, pedestrian only.
It's going to be awesome, man.
And so they kind of had to move. They didn't have a choice, but it fell into their laps that they're going to have this beautiful state-of-the-art facility
for sure,
like 5 blocks away, still in downtown Spartanburg.
Big shout out to Lenny Mathis and everyone at USC Upstate who helped yesterday and put that event on. Charlie Ann, everybody was fantastic, and it was a great turnout for a Tuesday night, man. I could not believe the amount of people that were there. We saw so many of our Tolos, and it was good to see you out there. Diesel, I have a question that I want to bring to the table during this segment for you as well as the Tolos, especially the Gamecock Tolos out there. We sure do talk a lot about Shane Beamer on this show being on and off of the hot seat, right? The roller coaster that is the job as being the head football coach of the University of South Carolina. But I wanted to dig a little deeper today, as we always are very quick to throw criticism towards Shane Beamer, and I also try to be very fair, Diesel, as you do as well, in giving him praise when he deserves it, because I've said many times, I like Shane Beamer. I think he's a good coach. I'm not saying he's Nick Saban, but I do think he's the right guy for South Carolina. I want to dig a little deeper today and ask the question, where do our Tolos rank Shane Beamer among the other coaches in the SEC? Now that we're halfway through the season, we've seen some surprises in the SEC, and I want to go one by one here. And I've got my list of the entire slate of coaches in the SEC. Diesel, please tell me if you agree or disagree. And Tolos, the text line 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Also, phone lines are open, 844-FAN-PHONE. Let me know where I'm right, and also let me know where I'm wrong here. I think Beamer's a good coach, but how good is he? Let's start with Kirby Smart. Easy answer here.
Okay, so we're asking who's the better coach.
The better coach.
Oh, yeah, easily Kirby Smart.
Easy answer here. There's not going to be any pushback from you or any of the Tolos out there. We know it's Kirby. So we know we're trying to decide, Diesel, as of right now, where Beamer falls in this list of coaches, right? We always pick Kirby over Beamer. That's an easy answer. Next on the list, Eli Drinkwitz. Right now today, would you take Shane Beamer or Eli Drinkwitz?
I would take Eli Drinkwitz. He's a smarter football mind. He's not a guy that had been around. He didn't play, right? So he doesn't have the experience in that sense. But he's one of those guys that is just frustratingly smart and frustratingly nerdy when it comes to being a football coach.
He is smart.
And granted, I haven't watched a ton of Missouri football, but I don't see Eli Drinkwitz-led teams. And obviously, I witnessed it for one season when he was coaching in Boone.
Yeah.
Eli Drinkwitz-led teams didn't make boneheaded decisions. And there were even coaching staff high position hires that Eli made that at the beginning of the season looked like massive question marks. For example, he hired Ted Roof to be his defensive coordinator. Ted Roof, who's been everywhere in football, and it took him quite a while to get his scheme put into place. But by the end of the season, Cole, they went from giving up 30 points a game to giving up 7 points a game.
Okay.
So he's shown me that he can take a guy and then mold him into the right kind of coach for the personnel that they have.
All right, Beamer or Lane Kiffin? Oh, by the way, let me answer Eli Drinkwitz because I didn't answer. I also have Eli as the superior coach. So the first two, Kirby Smart or Eli, or excuse me, Kirby or Beamer, Eli or Beamer. We said Kirby. We both said Eli. The third, Shane Beamer or Lane Kiffin. Easy answer for me. It's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, okay. Easy answer. Lane is a expert troll. He's an expert at getting guys out of the transfer portal. He's just better at it than Shane Beamer is at this point in his career.
JB says, I put Beamer in the middle of the pack. He ranks about 8th or 9th. Tolos, where do you think he ranks on your list? 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Beamer or Hugh Freeze? Diesel, I will let you answer first on this.
I think Hugh Freeze has lost enough of a step or two. If you'd asked me this question 10 years ago, obviously if Beamer was still his same age and had 4 years under his belt coaching at South Carolina, I would have said Hugh Freeze, no problem.
Yeah.
But I think Hugh Freeze is a little bit of a shyster.
Yeah.
And you know, it's hard for me to say what Hugh Freeze is going to be at Auburn, right? He's done a good job in recruiting in Auburn, but he's not winning with the players that he has at Auburn this year.
So you're going?
I'm going Shane Beamer.
Me too.
Right now.
I'm also going Beamer. Look, I've been very adamant, very clear. I'm not very high on Hugh Freeze. I just look. He's got talent. He's a good coach. But right now, I would take Shane Beamer over Hugh Freeze. Mike Levy. Shane Beamer or Mike Levy. Diesel, I know we're running out of time, but we're going to speed up through these. No, not a big conversation to be had here. I'm going Beamer over Levy. Agree with that?
I think you mean Jeff.
Jeff, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jeff Levy at Mississippi State. Yeah, Shane Beamer's a much better coach than Jeff.
Beamer, here's where it gets interesting. Beamer or Brent Venables?
Ooh. Oh, man. That's a 50-50 for me, honestly.
Yeah.
It's a tight one. I'm going to say Venables, but like just barely.
Okay.
Just barely.
So I say Beamer here. I say Beamer just because, number one, he has more experience as a head coach. Beamer still has Venables, in my opinion, still has a lot to prove that he can even be a decent head coach. I'm not saying he's just trash to cast on the side here, but he hasn't shown me much yet. Beamer or Josh Heupel, not a big conversation there. Yeah. Beamer or Stoops at Kentucky?
I'm going Stoops.
Really?
Stoops, yeah. Bob Stoops has had a little bit more consistency at Kentucky. Again, another program that's not used to winning a lot. Another program that is in the shadow of a basketball program on their campus. And South Carolina football is in the shadow of South Carolina women's basketball.
Yeah.
I think Stoops is a better coach. Again, just barely. I mean, these two I think are fairly equal. I give just a little bit of a nod to Bob Stoops.
I'm going Shane Beamer on this one. I will disagree with you here, so I'll go on the opposite side. Beamer or Sam Pittman?
Beamer.
Beamer. Not a big discussion there. Here's one that's interesting. Madcraft brought it up. Lee from Vanderbilt. You going Lee over Beamer? Clark?
No, I'm going Shane Beamer on this one. Like, one season is not enough to tell me that somebody is some great coach.
Yeah, I'm with you there. No pushback. I also go Shane Beamer over
Then again,
Clark Lee.
we could argue if this season for Vanderbilt is better than any season Shane Beamer has had at South Carolina.
God. Don't bring that up.
Couldn't we?
Maybe. Not a big conversation here to be had. Beamer or Kalen DeBoer?
Kalen.
Yep, Kalen DeBoer there. Madcraft brought this one up, and we're just so happened this one's next on our list. Madcraft says one could make an argument Beamer versus Napier is a tough one. JB says, I agree. So I ask you, better head coach right now, Shane Beamer or Billy Napier?
Shane Beamer, because he has a better ability to regain or retain the locker room when things are going badly. You know, he doesn't let all that negativity get out quite as much as Billy Napier.
This one's tough. However, listen, I'm also going Shane Beamer. Look, I said it before we started. I'm high on Beamer. I think he's a good coach. Is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. But I do think he's the better coach. We have three remaining. Diesel, Mike Elko, or Shane Beamer. I go Mike Elko here, but it's not by like a huge margin.
Well, Elko walked into a terribly difficult situation at Texas A&M, a toxic fan base that so badly wants to win, but will so quickly turn on someone. And he's just run. He just picked up the ball and has run with it. So I'm going Mike Elko here.
Mike Elko, we both agree. The last two, Beamer or Sark, or Beamer or Kelley. I have Sark and Brian Kelley over Shane Beamer. Diesel,
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any disagreement there?
No, I don't. I don't. Brian Kelley is not the friendliest guy. He's not the most cuddly guy, but he just wins, right? And Shane Beamer is a friendly, cuddly guy. but he doesn't win quite as much.
True.
So it's wins is what matters, not being friends.
It's not. And again, that's Shane Beamer over a good majority of the field in our opinion, though. So it's not like he's a bottom tier coach. 828, before we run to a break, Diesel 828 did chime in and said that Bryce Young will be starting. I did confirm it on Twitter, ESPN, NFL. Panthers quarterback Bryce Young to start Sunday versus the Broncos. So the question that we had in the very first segment, Diesel, has been answered. There's Bryce Young. Bryce is back, baby.
And
he's back.
And thank you, Texter, for correcting me. It's Mark Stoops at Kentucky. I accidentally said Bob.
I said Mike, somebody, so it's okay. It's
Yeah.
First name. Nobody knows first names. The first names aren't important. Who cares about first names? But there's Bryce Young. That's interesting. Obviously, he started the season.
This is Bryce Young, newly minted new starter of the Carolina Panthers. Once again,
there he is.
We're back.
He's back, baby.
Blanket, no.
Bryce is back.
When we come back, Cole, the men's basketball top 25 is out. A once proud conference is in dire straits. Who are we talking about? That's next on the Fan Upstate. Cole, if I'm doing my math correctly in the last segment, I had Shane Beamer ranked as my 11th best head coach in the SEC.
Did you take your shoes off for that?
No, I could count twice on the same hand, believe it or not.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I had 10 coaches better than him. That's not a ranking per se, but I did have 10 coaches better than him. And you had 8 coaches better than him?
8.
You had 8.
I had him 9. 9 out of 16. Is that right?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting, Cole. And I don't know where you come down. I don't know where you rank your favorite sports, but I very clearly rank college basketball as my second favorite sport, Cole. For me, it goes college football, college basketball, college baseball. Then we got the NFL. Then we got Major League Baseball.
So what were your top 3? You had college football, college basketball, and then what was the third?
Baseball, college baseball. College baseball is great.
It's great.
I mean, it's getting better because the coverage of college baseball is getting so much better. It used to be you could catch like maybe 1 or 2 games a week and the rest were buried somewhere on maybe just the university's individual sports websites. But now you can find almost every game you want to watch because these networks, Cole, especially ESPN, are realizing that college baseball is worth putting out there and worth selling advertising for.
I know we're about to get into the basketball, but I'm just thinking now that you said that the basketball top 25 or the preseason rankings, I'm thinking mine would be college football, NFL 2. God, I'd probably say
Medal stand Tolos. What's your medal stand?
I'd probably say NBA 3 because I love the NBA.
Oh, NBA is so far down on my list, and it's because LeBron James has ruined the NBA.
Oh, that's not true.
That's not true. We're gonna talk about that.
Don't do that.
Bronny coming out on the court.
The best player ever ruined the NBA.
This manufactured garbage that we saw last night with the Los Angeles. Of course, they were going to win on Bronny's first night. They weren't going to let that happen.
Diesel said LeBron James ruined the
I'm accusing the Timberwolves of point shaving.
I'm about to go cry in a corner somewhere.
The NBA is so far down my list, Cole.
I've always loved it. I always have. I know everybody does not, though. I know everybody doesn't love it, but I love it, man.
I will watch part of an NBA Finals game 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I genuinely I'm not that.
And maybe it'll change for me one day. But man, I'm telling you, I love it.
I know what it is. It's because the only team we have here, the Charlotte Hornets, suck so bad that it's not worth watching. And I want to be a fan of the local team. I do.
Yeah.
But when they suck so bad, the same things happen with the NFL.
I love college basketball as well, but I literally during the NBA season, I watch NBA every night, and I've been that way for a very long time, man. I've just grown up loving the NBA. And I know around here it's not that popular. It's more of a big city kind of thing, but man, I love it.
Cole, in case you hadn't seen it yet, the men's basketball top 25 is out. The AP poll and the coaches polls are out there. Out of the top 25, Cole, get this. There are 9 SEC teams inside the top 25. Look at that. It wasn't that long ago, Cole, that the SEC was hot garbage in basketball. It was Kentucky and everybody else.
Yeah. It's gotten so much better, man.
Yeah. And now Kentucky's not even one of the best 3 teams in the SEC. Alabama ranked number 2, Auburn number 11. In the Big Ten, they have 4 top 25 teams, 4 top 25 teams in the Big Ten. It's a lot of numbers to keep straight. Purdue is their bell cow right now at number 14. And the Big 12, they have 6 top 25 teams. Kansas number 1, Houston number 4. Man. Iowa State number 5, and here's the one that should be concerning. The ACC that used to run the sports has just 2, Cole.
Yeah.
Just 2 schools in the initial AP top 25. Duke number 7, North Carolina number 9. Not hating on either one of those teams to be preseason top 10. That means you're expected to be a very, very good basketball team, Cole, and that's better than anything the Big 12 can say, but they do have 4 teams inside the top 25. The good thing is, Cole, there's a lot of data points, and these teams can move up and down over the course of the season. But if you're an ACC fan, Cole, if you're an ACC purist, and you remember the days when the ACC ran this sport, that's bad. That is bad for you. And what that tells me, Cole, is all that money that the SEC and the Big Ten are taking in with their television rights, that's also getting filtered down to the basketball programs as well. And they are hiring the best head coaches. They've got all the best atmospheres. I mean, basketball and football both have shifted to the SEC, and I don't see either one of those things changing anytime
Well, not just
soon.
basketball and baseball, not
Baseball
just
too.
basketball and football, but baseball as well.
Yeah.
Look, the SEC's been getting better and better for a very long time. To your point, it's not just Kentucky anymore. In fact, Kentucky is way down the list at 23. Diesel, they're a deep conference. North Carolina and Duke, the way that both of those teams have fallen off or fallen back a little bit, since the two legends retired, it's not only hurt Duke and North Carolina, it's hurt the conference. The entire conference has taken a step back since those two legends stepped away. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's just a fact, man. Those two legends stepped away in the ACC, and the conference hasn't been the same since. The Big 12 is very good. It always is. I love college basketball. I really do. I like any level of basketball, but South Carolina, to me, not being on this list is a shame.
It is.
They're better than Ole Miss. They're better than Kentucky, and they might be better than Florida.
The absurdity of a team that went 26-8 last year, 13-5 in conference, not even getting a vote, not one vote.
It's ridiculous, man.
In all of the country. That blows my mind, and South Carolina fans ought to be livid about that. Wake Forest, 5th in others receiving votes. Miami, Clemson, Louisville also received votes. Look, anything can happen, right? It's a long season.
It's a dumb list. It's so bad. South Carolina would beat 15 of the top 25 teams on in their roster this year is better than last year's roster.
Yeah.
South Carolina going into the season has one of the best rosters in college.
And Lamont Paris has shown it now twice. He is incredible.
They're stacked,
at taking a ragtag group of guys who haven't played basketball together, who weren't recruited together, haven't been on the same team for a couple of years, and bringing them together and making a really good basketball team out of it. So shame on the AP voters for not even giving South Carolina Gamecocks a single vote.
It's pitiful is what I say. Pitiful. What's not pitiful is the Upset Picks Challenge. Well, it's certainly the best. We had an all-time high of players in the challenge last week, 120. Let's see if we can get anywhere close to that this week. The Upset Picks Challenge opens 7 minutes from right now. Well, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, Tolos all around the world, wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening, it's time for the highly anticipated Upset Picks Challenge, brought to you by who?
Ingles.
I just had to continue that one more day. That was so funny. Ingles Markets, the absolute best of the best. We love Ingles. I'll tell you more about them and what they are doing right now coming up in the show. We got some updates from their team today. We'll tell you more about Ingles coming up. But right now, it's time for you to text into the show 71307. Start your text with the word fan. And I'm laughing because, oh my word, Diesel, they are rolling in already. We haven't even started the second hour yet. Here they come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in a matter of 1 minute. Tolos, the Upset Picks Challenge, it is here. If you do not know, we know that we have new Tolos join the show every day. So if you do not know what we're talking about, the Upset Picks Challenge, it's free to play. You can still enter through the season. Diesel is copying and pasting faster than you've ever seen in your entire life.
Furiously.
Him and DB do an incredible job with this challenge. So if you want to get in, here's how. You pick an underdog in college football this weekend. You like that underdog not only to cover the spread, but to win the game outright. You text into the show your name, the game you're picking, and the spread. The spread was locked in at 3 o'clock. Today from ESPN.com. So we need your name, your game, and the amount of points. Tolos, make sure you include your name on your text and use the same name week after week, because that will confuse the heck out of Diesel and DB. They both do a fantastic job.
It doesn't take much.
Challenge. What, to confuse you?
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
I mean, I'm blown away right now how many texts are coming in the Upset Picks Challenge. The line is out the door, per se.
It looks like a polling station right now. It's like an early voting station. It does.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Diesel has his upset pick, I believe. Am I right there? On the fence?
I'm on the fence.
Okay.
I'm on the fence.
I am too, by the way.
I think I know where I'm going to go.
Okay.
But I'm still like a little iffy.
Well, I'm in the same boat as you are, by the way. I'm still iffy. I'm still in the same boat as you. So Diesel and I will give our upset picks a little bit later in the show. I'm coming off of a win, so I'm confident going into the week. Let's go to the phone lines where you can also give your upset pick. 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. We're going to Delvin, and then we're going to go to Harold in Greenville. But first, Delvin, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? Yeah,
Hey,
I got my pick in. It's gonna be Texas Tech plus 7.5.
Texas Tech plus. Who they playing? Do you know?
They're playing TCU.
TCU.
Okay. I like
Texas
it, Delvin.
Tech plus 7.5. Delvin, Diesel mentioned that in years past you were really good. What you've encountered some struggles and challenges this season, right?
Yeah, man. It seemed like every week. It seemed like every time I pick a team, they lose the following week and have a game the following week. I don't know what's going on, man.
I'm with you, Delvin. I picked two teams to get an upset, and then the next week they come back and win as an underdog, and they've hit as an underdog, and it's driving me insane. That's
you talking about you. It's driving me insane too, man. I'm like Nebraska last week. Got blowed out, got whipped last week after they played good the week before.
Delvin, do you have any points in this challenge right now?
Man, I'm just trying to get on the board.
Delvin
is perennially in the top 5 in this challenge, and Delvin is sitting at 0 points right now, just to prove how frustratingly hard this challenge can be. Delvin, we appreciate your call.
Oh man, he said he's playing cornhole. He's just trying to get on the board. Harold from Greenville. Harold, what's up, man?
Oh, I'm just sitting here laughing at y'all. I might keep Delvin. I might give him some competition. I just, I just tuned into this, but I'm gonna give it a shot for next year if I'm still around. But the game I'm picking, because they played each other a lot, I'm taking, I believe it's Navy 8.5 against Notre Dame.
All
Harold,
right.
and this is, tell me if I'm wrong, is this your first week in the Upset Picks Challenge?
Yes, this is the first time. I've only been listening to it, like I told you the other day, just tuning into the station. But I'm going to try to keep y'all out of cell at least. Listen, I started to take Oklahoma because I've never seen Oklahoma lose 3 straight games, get blown out. But they won't win it. But I'm going to tell you, I believe they're going to give them a better game than South Carolina did, Ole Miss.
Hey, Harold, I don't hate the Oklahoma pick. I know you're not picking that one, but now it's Jackson Arnold's team, man. That's a 5-star freshman quarterback, but he's a good quarterback, and maybe he can spark this offense now that it's officially his team.
But I was on the verge, just because of the they're gonna beat the spread. I'll say that much. But anyway, I like Old Navy. That's my alma mater. I served in them, and
right.
Thank you for that.
So that's and they play each other regularly, so they know what each other's about. So
Harold, we appreciate you listening to the show just recently, man.
Yeah, I told you Monday I just turned it on less than a month ago. I got tired of listening to all that politics and destruction in my country, so that. We just throw that out.
Well, you can turn it on and leave it on.
I'm a Tolo. Right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, brother.
Let's go. Harold in Greenville
so
says he's a Tolo.
Harold's
baby.
been listening to the station, calling into the station for a long, long time. And, man, I'm so happy to hear Harold call him back in.
We reeled him back in. Man.
I love it.
Hey, can I tell you this? On Friday, I'm very impressed, by the way, with your muy rapido copy and pasting that you're doing very fast. On Friday, so I was hosting by myself Friday. I was at Eastside High School, and the texts are just flooding in, right? And I'm like, there's no way I can do this. So I'll tell you what I did. And I don't think I told DB this yet. And this, by the way, DB, this might have been the reason the page didn't refresh until the end of the show. I went back at the end of the show and copied all of them and pasted them at one time. I couldn't do it.
It's hard.
Bam, 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 bam. I just waited till the show was over, and I was like, I'm not good enough to do it while I'm hosting the show by myself. So I waited till the end of the show.
So the most number of picks we've ever had was last week. We had 120, right? 120 picks. I think this week we can get 125.
No way.
I think we can get 125.
I don't think.
Yeah, I do. Normally how it works, Cole, is we normally get to about half of the total number on the first day. And as of right, Cole, we're 7 minutes into this challenge. We've got 28 picks. 7 minutes
Let's
in
go.
with 28 picks.
Let's go.
So if we hit 60 picks today and we hit another 30 tomorrow and on Friday, I think we got a real good chance.
I'm just disagreeing with you just so the Tolos can, prove me wrong a little bit.
All right.
So
Maize and Brew is helping me out because I think we're going to get it. Maize and Brew's taking Oklahoma State +7 over Baylor.
Ooh, that's interesting. While Diesel and I continue to brew our upset pick, text line 71307. That's the way you get your pick in on the challenge. Percy started us off, Diesel, 8 minutes ago. Percy wanted Navy plus Notre Dame, or Navy versus Notre Dame plus 12.5. Madcraft, Central Michigan plus 12 versus Miami of Ohio. Rev Red, FSU plus 21 versus Miami. Let's see, Palmetto Buckeyes, North Texas over Tulane, 7.5. CJ from Greer, Boston College plus 7.5 over Louisville. Just Jess. She says, D taking Georgia State plus 7.5 versus App State. Your Mountaineers.
You're not the only one, Jess. Diddy also took Georgia State over App State for 8 points. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
Did he?
I thought about it. We talked about it yesterday on the show. I should take that one because I win either way. Either I win in the upset picks challenge or my team finally gets off the schneid and gets a conference win.
We did talk about DB, the one and only DB, taking Georgia Tech 10.5 versus Virginia Tech. Mike Main, Duke plus 11.5. Boomer Bill, Oklahoma over Ole Miss plus 20. Coach AJ, Duke over SMU minus 11.5. Ty Taylor's FSU plus 21 versus Miami.
Ooh. Rivalry game. Anything can happen.
Ty and Taylor's. JT and Greer giving Oregon State plus 10 over Cal. Brendan Gosnell, Navy plus 13. Noel, Blue Devils, 11.5 over SMU. Tiger Pal Rachel, Duke over SMU as well. Matt M. from Gaffney, Duke. Oh, my gosh, look at the Dukes rolling in, Diesel.
Yeah.
Have we done
normally the team that gets picked the most, doesn't hit.
You're right about that. Have you seen Tom's pick, by the way? I hope you have. Tom says bye week beats Clemson because Clemson sucks. Does that count? Can you give him the bye week over Clemson? Minus 1.5? Come on, give it to him.
That's funny, Tom.
Give Tom the bye week.
So Cole, here's a couple that I'm looking at right here. I'm looking at Washington plus 6.5 over Indiana. They're on the road at Indiana, but we know the quarterback Rourke is out with an injured thumb. Not going to play. So That might be a good reason to take that one. I'm looking at Illinois plus 21.5 at Oregon. Illinois is a good football team, but Oregon is just lighting people up right now, right? So that's a stretch. There's a reason why it's 21.5. I think it's a little disrespectful to the Illini and being a 6-win football team.
Yeah.
I'm also looking at Temple plus 7 at East Carolina because East Carolina just fired Mike Houston. So this is going to be East Carolina's first game with an interim head coach, and anything could happen in that one, right? And then, of course, I'm looking at Notre Dame at Navy plus 13, and then I'm looking at SMU at Duke plus 11.5. And here's the thing: I don't know which one of those to take. I'm down. I can't get anywhere with the 7-pointers, the 6.5-pointers. I don't think Illinois is going to beat Oregon, but that would be a massive one if it hit. You know what? I'm going to go for broke.
No, what are you doing?
I'm going to go for broke.
What are you doing?
I'm going to go for broke. I'm going to take Illinois plus 21.5 at Oregon.
Illinois.
I gotta do something drastic,
no,
man.
You're not.
We're in this territory now,
no,
man.
You're not.
We're in the end game now.
Oh, by the way, did you mention Rutgers USC or no?
No, I did not mention Rutgers USC.
That was one that I looked at that's played tomorrow night. I have not seen on the text line, and we haven't read them all, but I have not seen Rutgers USC. I'm surprised because Rutgers they're not a lot worse than USC is. USC is favored by 14, and it's a home game. Miller Moss will probably play well enough to win. So, Diesel, I'm very intrigued by that. I did talk myself out of Notre Dame Navy, by the way. I talked myself out of that. I was interested in that game, but I talked myself out. I just don't think Navy is – Notre Dame's defense is for real. Their defense is for real.
Yeah.
And I just can't. I cannot pick against their defense. So I'm taking. I think Notre Dame wins that game. So I'm not going to pick that one. A funny text that I did want to read. Diesel John Dog says I need to know Cole's pick so I can pick someone else. Well, John Dog, if that's the case, I'm going to keep you waiting until Friday at 6:50. How about that? 6:51. No.
Madcraft says, I think we should make Rob have to make his picks on this show from now on. He be cheating. Yeah, Madcraft, Rob Brown tried to cheat, right? We messaged Rob to get his pick during the week.
I've called him multiple
You called
times.
Rob during the show to try to get his pick. He didn't answer the phone. And then on Saturday morning, we see a tweet from Rob that says, oh, I picked NC State. No.
Did you have did you know that he picked NC State?
No, because it didn't happen during show hours.
Oh.
Rob's like, I work here. I should get special treatment. No, you don't get special treatment, Rob.
And he doesn't answer the phone when we call.
Rob's not even a Tolo.
I mean, he doesn't answer the phone. I've called him.
You got to be number one, you got to be a Tolo to get special treatment. He's not a Tolo.
That's pitiful. What are we going to do with him? What are we going to do? Gosh, I'm struggling big time, man. I am struggling big time. I believe I've got my upset pick, but I'm not like super, super confident in it.
Are you ready to declare it, though?
I'm ready to declare it. I'm ready to declare my upset pick for what is this, week 8? Are we in week 8 already?
This is week 9.
Wait, what?
This is week 9.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Diesel, my upset pick for the week. I am going to pick Duke over SMU.
Okay, Duke over SMU.
Duke over SMU. I'm a Blue Devil this week. I don't know if I can hit 2 weeks in a row out of the same conference.
Yeah. Well, I got to think that, like, there's no way SMU is just that charmed football team that's going to walk into the ACC and run run things.
You're right. Keep going. Yeah.
I mean, like,
there's no way.
There's gonna. I mean,
screw SMU.
Yeah, it's not to say that the ACC is some hard conference. I'm just saying, right? Like,
nobody walks in the ACC.
You just came in from a G5 conference call. What does that say about the ACC? If a good G5 team who's not taking any money from the conference can walk in and potentially make your conference championship game. That is pathetic.
It is pathetic.
That is pathetic.
Texter says, fitting, Cole, all Clemson fans are closet Duke fans. That's good. That's a good one.
Fantastic.
That's a good
callback, Texter.
I was going to say, I'm not going to rebuttal that. I'm not going to rebut. Reed Atkins says, Diesel and Cole Bryson, this is advice to you. I had 6.5 points 4 weeks ago. I hit Colorado plus 14.5, Vandy plus 13.5, Old Dominion plus 10 in 4 weeks. I've stormed back and tied for 4th place. It's never too late to get hot, says Reed Atkins.
How about that, Reed Atkins? Speaking of which, Cole, we've had a lot of people asking about the standings. Number one, the standings list is gigantic, you guys. We have so many Tolos who were on the board. Sorry, Delvin. But we have so many Tolos on the board. It is impossible to read the entire list. There's like 90-something Tolos who have points. So go to twitter.com/thefanupstate.
Yes.
You don't have to have a Twitter account to look at it. It's the tweet that is pinned to the top of our account, but I can give you the top 25. How about that?
Let's do it.
Twisted Whisker in first place with 55.5 points. Noel in second place with 50.5 points. John Dog in third place with 47. The aforementioned Reed Atkins is tied with Joe D with 43.5 points. In sixth place, Amazon Guy with 40.5 points. In seventh place, Buckeye Brian 37.5. Eighth place, Justin L with 35.5. Josh Pate has 35 points. He's in ninth. In 10th place, Roger Carper, 34 points. Billy Horn has 33.5 points. He is tied for 11th place with Greenville Gamecock. Reese Davis from College Game Day has 31.5 points. Scotty Mack in 14th place has 30. T-Ray in 15th place has 29.5 points. Clemson Oculus in 16th place has 29 points. Three-way tie for 17th goes between Coach AJ, Mike Main, and Maze and Brew. They all have 28 points. Two-way tie for 20th between Kevin Buggs and Notre Dame Nate with 27.5 points. 22nd place is Brandon Gosnell with 27 points. 23rd place, John Corley with 26.5. E. Thoughty is in 24th with 25.5 points. And JD, look at JD coming out of the woodworks, getting hot in the Upset Picks Challenge. He is now inside the top 25 with 24.5 points.
71307 Tolos. That is how you get your upset pick in. I want to see how many Tolos are going with the same pick as Diesel and I. I have seen several Duke.
Nobody's picked the same game as me.
Not yet.
No,
Oregon.
Illinois over Oregon.
I wonder why.
Yeah,
it's a big spread.
Well, hey, I need the 22 points.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen though, is it?
No, probably not.
Tiger Pal Rachel also goes Duke over SMU, so she's with me. Matt M from Gaffney. Matt M from Gaffney's in the same boat. I hope I lead you guys to the promised land again this week. Let's see. Any other Duke over SM? Yeah, Coach AJ. Yeah. And again, Tolos, there are hundreds, it seems like. Not really, but a lot of texts coming in. So if we don't read yours over the air, it doesn't mean we do not have it. But continue to hit us up, 71307. That's the way you can get in the Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles.
We're at 42 picks right now, Cole. We needed 60 to get halfway to our record number of picks this week. I think we're going to make it happen. You new Tolos who are thinking about getting into the game, get into the game. It's free. It's fun. And coming up next, Cole, we're going to talk to the man, Kelley Ford of K Ford Ratings. He's going to make you smarter. He can answer your questions about your favorite teams, statistically speaking, at least. Kelley Ford coming up next on the Fan Upstates. Get out your ibuprofen because our next guest is going to make your head hurt. And I mean that in the nicest, most complimentary way I possibly can. Kelley Ford, owner of KFordRatings.com, joining us here on the Fan Upstate. Kelley, I just want to know, how many bottles of his Lobos tequila did Matthew McConaughey send you? Because you've got the Texas Longhorns number 2 in your power ratings. Splitting hairs here for just a second, because I know Georgia and Texas or Texas and Georgia are 2 and 3 respectively. But explain where the model sees Texas as still superior to Georgia, despite Georgia having just dominated the Longhorns.
Yeah, well, Matthew McConaughey did not send me anything. So, yeah, I guess I need to follow up with him to get that for, as you said, keeping the Texas Longhorns above Georgia in the power ratings. I'll answer the question in a second, but I do just want to say, guys, it's really important, especially this time of year. And I know you guys know this and the listeners do too, the power ratings versus the most deserving rankings. And I do have Georgia number 1 in the most deserving rankings. Texas, remember, for me, Texas was not the number 1 deserving team last week. I know the AP had them 1. I had them number 7. So Texas is now down to number 14 for me with regard to their resume and how strong it is relative to the rest of college football teams. But if for me right now, if you're looking at, let me go to the unit ratings, because that'll give me an idea of what the model's thinking for Texas versus Georgia specifically. I have them very, very close on offense. I have Georgia number 7 on the offensive side of the ball. I have Texas number 8. Texas is down 5 spots from a week ago. And it's on the defensive side that my numbers still favor Texas by a little bit of a margin over Georgia. And I know we just played the game. I know it was in Austin. Georgia's getting full credit for that in the resume rankings, but I still have Texas's defense. Yes, they gave up 30 points. I would argue not all of these are on the defense. Texas is number 2 now on the defensive side of the ball for me, behind only Tennessee out of the SEC. Georgia is up 8 spots on that side of the ball after holding a good Texas offense to only 15. I have Georgia now number 7 on that side. But if we look at the totality of the season, how have these teams played? That's what the model's doing. Yes, it's adjusting for what we just saw, but keep in mind the first 6 games before that. That's what the model is still looking at and keeping Texas above Georgia for now in the power ratings. Although, to be fair, it is very close. Texas number 2, Georgia number 3 in the model.
Kelley Ford, KFord Ratings, you've got to check his website out. It's awesome, KFordRatings.com. Something that I've been fascinated with, Kelley, is the at-large win thresholds with the total regular season wins required to be in the college football at-large discussion. We know that at-large discussion is going to continue to ramp up as the season nears its end. But is there any way, Kelley Ford, that you can pump some life into the team that you have in the 9-win required category, third from the right? It's a chicken surrounded by a C. For those that don't know, South Carolina. Can you explain this at large thresholds when you talk about total regular season wins required? And is there any way the Gamecocks, I know it's a long shot, but is there any way they can continue to somehow make some magic happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And on the website, KFordRatings.com, on the CFP tab that you're referring to here, Cole, I update that every Thursday. So what you see on there right now does not account for the games we just saw this past weekend. You will see it. You will see an update tomorrow. And so that's gonna be coming. South Carolina's at-large threshold, what we're talking about here, didn't change from last week. It is possible, based on schedule difficulty, for teams to float between tiers. South Carolina is still in that 9 tier. And what that suggests is that by my power ratings, South Carolina's schedule is difficult to the level that 9 wins in the regular season should put them in the conversation. And like you said, that does not mean they're guaranteed a spot, but by my numbers, a 9-3 South Carolina should be in the conversation for an at-large bid. And that would be in comparison, to a 10-2 Texas or a 10-2 Ole Miss or a 10-2 Missouri, because South Carolina's schedule is about a 1 game more difficult, if you will, than Texas or Ole Miss or Missouri or even Tennessee. So South Carolina, to me, needs to reach 9 wins to be in the conversation. You're looking at the schedule now. They're 4-3. They are my highest ranked 3-loss team. They're number 24 in my most deserving ranking. So no other team out there with 3 losses has a more impressive resume than the Gamecocks for me. I have an 8% chance that South Carolina wins their next 5 games. And if we look at it, there's only one game that my numbers make the Gamecocks an underdog. I actually have the Gamecocks as a very slight favorite at home against Texas A&M, 53% win expectancy. It's the final game of the year at Clemson. That's the one that you're projecting as an underdog. Huge game there in the Palmetto State, I know. 8% chance for South Carolina to get their coal. And if they do, I hope the committee is going to consider them despite the fact that they would have 3 losses. That schedule is very, very difficult.
Kelley, I want to stay right there on that graphic and talk about Clemson and what it says specifically about Clemson. You say winning 11 games for Clemson gets them in to the CFP as an at-large team. They're 6-1 with potentially 6 more games to play. That's the 5 regular season games left in the ACC title game. Does your graphic account for conference championship games? And does that mean in the eyes of your numbers, at least, that Clemson can drop 2 more games and still get in as an at-large?
I'm really glad, Diesel, that you brought up Clemson, because as you look on the website right now and you do see Clemson all the way to the left on the 11-win tier, they actually, based on the updated numbers, have flipped again. They were 10 2 weeks ago. They were 11 last week. They are back to 10 wins for me in terms of the at-large conversation. So Clemson is right on that line, though, and it could change every single week. So I think Clemson fans should be hoping for 11 to feel really good about it. But as things stand this moment, and I'll update it tomorrow, Clemson, if they get to 10-2, should be, by my numbers, in consideration or in the discussion for that at-large. I've got a 63% chance that Clemson gets to at least 10 wins. Your second question there, does this graphic in particular on the at-large win thresholds on the CFP page account for conference championship games? No, it does not. This graphic is talking only about the regular season. So as you're going to see in the update tomorrow, I believe a 10-2 Clemson should be in that conversation. If Clemson is 10-2, I'm thinking they are probably going to be in the conference championship game, although you can't say for sure because SMU and Miami are both sitting there waiting to be in Charlotte as well. So that would get dicey for me in terms of if they drop a game, are they still going to make it to Charlotte? But for now, I think 10-2 gets Clemson in the conversation, and I've got a 63% chance that Clemson gets to at least 10 wins in the regular season. The Tigers are favored in each of their remaining games. However, 3 of the 5 left are projecting to be 1-possession games. That would be Louisville at home, Virginia Tech on the road, and we already talked about it, South Carolina in Week 14.
Kelley Ford, K for ratings. He's the absolute best. Kelley, we've talked a good bit about Alabama, and we even asked you about him a couple of weeks ago in the Dynasty and what your numbers showed. But when you talk about playoffs, I said last week, Kelley, that the Alabama-Tennessee game was going to be crucial. The loser was going to be sitting on the outside, not really being able to control their own destiny. Now that Alabama is sitting on the outside after that loss to Tennessee, are their playoff chances still just that, chances?
I think Alabama, they're an interesting team. If Alabama gets back to playing the way we saw early in this year, really since from the Georgia game at halftime and before, everything since halftime of Georgia has been concerning. That includes the win against Georgia and the South Carolina close win 2 weeks after that. If Alabama gets back to playing what we're used to seeing Alabama play like in the first half of this year, as well as under Nick Saban, they're still going to be fine because a 10-2 Alabama, by my numbers, should be comfortably in the field as an at-large, if not through Atlanta. And now their chances of Atlanta are very slim. I even think still, given the schedule difficulty, like we talked about with South Carolina, I think Alabama at 9-3 still has a case and should be in the conversation. I'm just concerned based on the way they've been playing. I'm not sure Alabama's going to get to 9 wins. And that sounds crazy to say, but they're still number 4 in the power ratings, but the model cannot downgrade them fast enough as they've been playing here in recent weeks. So this is a big game this weekend. I do like them against Missouri, 88% win expectancy. If I actually had to put a number on it, take the model away, Kelley, what do you think? I probably put it closer to 75 or 80, but the model still has them at 88. They should be favored in this game. They are favored in this game. It's the road game at LSU. That's going to be really concerning. And then it's Auburn in the last week of the season. And right now, my numbers still have a 93% win expectancy for Alabama in that game, but that's a rivalry game. We've seen crazy things happen in the Iron Bowl. I think those are the 2 that I'm looking at saying, man, Alabama could drop those. And if they go 8-4, I don't think Alabama, even given the brand, their schedule this year is not difficult enough for them to be in that conversation at that stage.
Kelley, I'm going to ask you a question that should be relevant to everybody who's playing in our Upset Picks Challenge. What level of correlation or causation do you see between teams that are high on your overachievers list and their upset potential in games. I asked that because twice this season, I've picked teams that are high up on your overachievers list, and I've been burnt by both of them, and I cannot figure this out. Arizona State and Arkansas, both high up on that list, and both have burnt me.
Yeah, so Arizona State, it looks like right now is in the top 10 of my overachievers. Arkansas, probably, I'm counting in my head, top 25, top 30. So the overachievers list, I would not recommend using that as a primary source, a resource for betting purposes or the upset pick challenge. What that list is really saying is in the preseason, the model had a projection for every single team. And it is what it is, and we froze it before week 0. I then keep track. Okay, based on the preseason expectations, we expected every single team to have X number of wins at this stage. How many wins do they actually have? And so the model's updating as we go, but that preseason expectation was frozen. It doesn't change. So right now, BYU is number 1 on this list. BYU has won 4 more games at this stage than we expected. So basically, the model expected BYU to be about 3-4 right now. Well, they're 7-0. And so they're playing much better than the model projected. The model's accounting for that as we move forward. So my projected line probably going to be close to Vegas's line because we're both Vegas and K Ford model making adjustments as we go. But this over under achievers list is who is doing better or worse than we thought when we came into this year. No surprise, probably, guys. The number 1 underachiever right now remains Florida State, about 3.5 fewer wins than we thought at this stage. Air Force, actually interesting. I don't think a lot of people are talking about Air Force. Maybe it's because they're not a Power 4. Maybe it's because they're a service academy. I don't know. Air Force, though, on the same tier as Florida State in that graphic, having a very, very disappointing season relative to the preseason expectations.
Kelley, I'm glad you mentioned Air Force and the Service Academy because that's where I was going next. 2 teams that are playing really well right now. I just don't know, like, your models are fantastic, but I don't know that we as college football fans can remember a time that we've seen Navy and Army both playing so well. And, you know, based on your ratings, based on your model, I want to know from your model, do we believe that these 2 teams are on a path to really – because Diesel and I have talked about this. Are these 2 teams on a path to actually be in contention, or is this just going to be a nice Cinderella run?
I think this is an amazing story. You love to see it. I mean, what year is this? 1945 when, you know, World War II is going on, and these are the 2 programs that are really stepping up because they have the most agile and athletic guys in the entire country. It's a great story, and I love to see it. And right now, if we look at my American Athletic Conference projections for the conference standings, I do project Army to be in the conference championship game, to host the conference championship game against Tulane. Navy for me is number 3. So just missing out there. Of course, these 2 teams are going to play in the annual Army-Navy game, but that's after the College Football Playoff Selection Committee reveals the field. So we don't really consider that when we're doing our projections for the CFP at-large conversation. I don't think either of these teams, guys, is going to be in the College Football Playoff. I don't. They certainly still have a path because they're both still undefeated, and they both play Notre Dame. And if they finish that way and they win their conference championship, then yeah, they're going to be at a minimum the G5 representative. And so there's a path there. My numbers think Army needs to finish undefeated in the regular season to be in the conversation. It gives them an 8% chance to do so. Obviously, Notre Dame is the big roadblock there. Same thing with Navy. Think you need to finish undefeated. Only a 2% for the midshipmen. They're power rated a little bit lower. They've got Notre Dame, and they also have to play Tulane. Army does not play Tulane. I think that's a big differentiation there. But no, I don't expect these 2 teams to be in the college football playoff. They do have a path, though, so credit to them. And guys, in my most deserving rankings, which is what I care about the most all year, but especially as we get closer to the end, I have Navy number 25 in the country and Army number 30. So they've certainly put together great seasons. Navy's got a huge test here this weekend. Army is off this week, and then they get Air Force after their bye. So it's going to be interesting, but I don't expect to see either of these teams in the playoff. I hope I'm wrong. It could be kind of cool. I'm not sure how competitive of a game it would be, but it would certainly be a great story.
Kelley, I want to ask you one quick qualifying question before I get to my real question here. Are your mulligan lists, are those also updated on Thursdays, or have those already been updated?
Those have been, those get updated on Thursdays as well, because they are on the CFP page.
Okay, so now that to that level, to that point, Texas is now down to just 1 mulligan available to them, right? You had them at 2. They should be down to 1 mulligan available. Does it matter who that mulligan loss is to? So if Texas were to lose to a bad Florida, for example, that would be 2 straight home losses for Texas, and one of those even coming off of a bye. is there a little extra sauce on a potential loss to Florida at home, or is it just 2 mulligans regardless of who it's against?
I love the questions you guys are asking. These are so great, and it's so much easier for me to explain, on the radio or on the YouTube than it is in a tweet. Texas, you're right, they will be down to 1 mulligan when I post this tomorrow. And what that means is Texas still, by my model, is favored in each of their remaining games. Their at-large win threshold is 10, given their schedule difficulty. So I think Texas needs to get to 10-2 to be in the at-large conversation. If they were to win each of the games in which they are remaining, they would get to 11. Therefore, they have a mulligan. That's how you get that 1 mulligan, gets to 10 wins. Your question, though, that my answer is no. It does not matter to whom Texas loses. It could be Florida, it could be Arkansas, it could be Kentucky, Texas A&M, or Vanderbilt. The numbers don't care. And here's why, guys, because 10-2, that's the record that Texas needs to be in the conversation by my numbers. 10-2 is 10-2 against the same schedule. It doesn't matter where those 2 losses are because, for example, if you lost to Florida, that means you beat Arkansas, A&M, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. If you lose to Texas A&M, that means you beat Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky. So people will say, well, it matters if you have good wins versus bad losses. But your record is your record against your schedule. It's just the combination, the mix of how many good wins, how many bad losses. But at the end of the day, reaching a 10-win threshold against Texas's schedule is equally difficult no matter what that mix is to get to 10 wins. So for me, no, it doesn't matter. Does it matter to the committee who brings a subjective viewpoint? Possibly. But from a mathematical standpoint, 10-2 against Texas's record is 10-2 against Texas's schedule, I should say.
Kelley, great stuff as always, man. Our Tolos love you. We love you. We appreciate you coming on with us. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, Kelley.
Kelley Ford, K Ford Ratings. He is phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's just mind-boggling.
That's a debate that fans have. That's a debate that CFP members have.
Yeah, they
start to decide, okay, which win means the most, which loss means the most. If you lost to a bad team, which does happen, right? Sometimes teams lose head-scratching football games, and fans want to penalize a team so much more for losing to a team you shouldn't lose to. But as far as Kelley Ford's numbers are concerned, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you lose to.
John Dog on the text line, ask what the spread is for Duke SMU. John Dog, right now it's 11.5. I don't know if it was 11.5 an hour and 40 minutes ago when DB locked the spreads in. But as of right now, are you thinking about going, hey, you getting in the same boat I am? Getting in the same boat, John Dog? Come on.
We need all of your picks. Those of you who haven't yet, get on the train. 71307. Text in with the word fan to start your text. Give us your name, your game, and the spread.
Daily Wires, top headlines in sports next. We go around the sports world to get you caught up on what's happening, the top headlines, but we call them the Daily Wires. It's the Daily Buzz, getting you updated on all the top stories in sports. Diesel, probably the biggest news today, the Titans and the Chiefs, who are working to finalize a trade that would send wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to Kansas City. League sources told Adam Schefter the Titans would receive a conditional fourth-round pick in a trade that is expected to be completed today. Sources say, imagine Diesel going to bed, a Tennessee Titan, and waking up as Patrick Mahomes with your quarterback.
Well, DeAndre Hopkins, I know he's a great wide receiver, but he's also old. Is an old DeAndre Hopkins only worth a fourth-round pick?
Think so. But wow. I think I do think right now with the Rashee Rice injury, they had to go get somebody. And you talk about a guy that can add a different down-the-field element threat.
Well, it seems then that he should have been worth better than a fourth-rounder. I mean, yeah. Explain to me what a conditional fourth-round pick is.
Conditional, the difference between I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know. You'll have to do your research on that. Conditional fourth-round pick. Fernando Valenzuela, the Mexican-born phenom back in the day for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who inspired Fernandomonia while winning the NL Cy Young Award and Rookie of the Year in 1981, has died at 63. You got it?
Yeah, here's the follow-up here. You make a trade and you agree that the draft pick will change based on the performance of the player. Yep. So if DeAndre Hopkins shows up to Kansas City and balls out, that might become a third-round pick, might become a second-round pick.
Could be. Could be interesting, though. We'll see. He is getting older. On Tuesday night in the Los Angeles Lakers season opener against the Minnesota Timberwolves, LeBron and Bronny made history by being on the court together. They became the first father-son duo in NBA history to appear in a game together when they checked in with 4 minutes left in the second quarter. LeBron started and had already played 13 minutes before he re-entered with Bronny for the historic moment. History in the making. Whoa. And all the haters say,
whoa.
I can't imagine I cannot imagine being a hater and hating on a father-son first time ever moment in the history of the NBA. I can't imagine. I mean, how cool is if it were any other sport, any other player?
If it were any other player, would you give a rip?
Yeah, that's
you wouldn't.
The first ever.
You
yes, I would. I love the NBA.
If it was Joel Embiid's kid, would you really care that much?
I would. I love the NBA.
If it was the second string point guard on the Timberwolves, would you care?
Be cool. It's never happened. But Taylor Swift said it best. Haters are gonna hate. We talked about it earlier. The Carolina Panthers quarterback, Andy Dalton, he was involved in an automobile accident Tuesday afternoon in Charlotte. A team spokesman confirmed Dalton, his wife, 3 children, and their dog were traveling on Sardis Road near Providence Road, around 7 miles from the stadium when the accident occurred. No one in the vehicle had to get in the ambulance, had to get in the wambulance, as some like to call it. And according to the spokesman, they're doing okay. However, Dalton was being evaluated by team medical personnel. Okay in the sense of being okay, but not good enough to play in the actual game on Sunday. Bryce Young has been announced as the starter for the Carolina Panthers. So he's back. Bryce Young's back.
Hey, my name's Bryce Young, and I'm back.
He's back. Baby Bryce. Let's see. Next on the Daily Wires, the NBA opened its season last night. 2 games. The Celtics defeated the Knicks and the Lakers defeated the Timberwolves. The NBA is back in action. The NHL is as well. It started a few weeks ago. There are 2 college football games tonight. Diesel, Liberty at Kennesaw State, which won't be close, I don't think.
Liberty ought to absolutely smack them around, yeah.
That game will probably be ugly at halftime. And then Middle Tennessee at Jacksonville State might be a little bit better of a game. Jacksonville State's pretty good, though.
We have had Shane Barrett. Shane Barrett took Middle Tennessee State over Jacksonville State, MTSU plus 20.5. He's swinging for the fences, Cole.
You got to have confidence. Let's see here. Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball sold at auction for $4.39 million. The buyer has not been identified. Wow is all I can say to that. The Buccaneers. Oh, go ahead.
Why not? Now you don't have $4.5 million in your bank account. There's no reason to rob the guy.
Yeah, it's true. Buccaneers' Chris Godwin will undergo surgery for a dislocated left ankle and will likely be done for the season. That's tough. He was hurt in the final minute of the Monday Night Football game against the Ravens. That's a big, big piece for Baker Mayfield. And then lastly, earlier today, Diesel, it was announced that your App State Mountaineers announced a home-and-home football series with who? Oregon State.
Yeah, road trip into Corvallis.
This
Let's
is a little unexpected, right?
Let's go. I don't
like that?
I don't like that one of the games is in 2032, 8 years from now.
Might not even be alive.
It's a very good chance, man. I keep doing this show. I might have a heart attack by then.
Oh,
you
man.
never know.
I tell you, man, the home and it's fascinating to me when they announce those home and homes that are like 8 years out. It's like, good God. I mean, we're trying to focus on this week. And
there's a lot of ways to change the deal.
Yeah.
By that point, no, Cole, there was one that you skipped there. This was about the Tampa Bay Rays and the fact that Tropicana Field had the roof completely ripped off of the venue. Rob Manfred says that he wants the Rays to play in a temporary home near Tampa until the roof can be fixed. They're looking at potentially the spring training facilities of the Phillies, Blue Jays, Yankees, Pirates, and Tigers, though a lot of those stadiums host and are the home of minor league teams, so that may displace those minor league teams. They may need to figure out what another team is going to do, or they may move Tampa Bay Rays games to Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex near Orlando.
At the end of the day, it's the Rays. Nobody cares about let them play in the park.
Yeah, I don't. People in Tampa don't care about the Rays. Why are we making such a big deal about where the Rays play?
Who cares? Rays, all six of you. All six.
Didn't they play half a season in Canada a couple years ago? Toronto?
I don't know.
Was that the team that played half their season in Toronto? I don't remember who that was. Somebody help me out.
5 o'clock fight next.
Cole, let's you and I put all the niceties aside. Let's you and I stop being cordial for a little while.
Yes.
And just start throwing fists, start throwing elbows, start throwing haymakers. We do it. Well, we used to do it every single day. Now we do it every single Wednesday. We call it the 5 o'clock fight. Here's how this works. There are 3 rounds. You and I have to disagree. Let's get into it.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Yes, we each make our case. You, the Tolos, decide who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight, and you let us know by texting 71307. Start your text with keyword fan and tell us who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight. Again, we must disagree. We cannot take the same side of the argument. Let's get started right now with round number 1.
Fight.
Which scenario, Cole, would Gamecock fans choose?
Oh, boy.
You can't have both. You can only have one of these 2 scenarios. Winning out in the SEC and losing to Clemson, or beating Clemson and losing out in the SEC.
You know, I figured this question might get some reaction from the Gamecock Tolos. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to think about. Which scenario do I think they would choose if you're asking Diesel? SEC wins are very, very important. You are in the SEC. You need SEC wins to accomplish your goals, right? You don't necessarily need the win over Clemson to get where you want to be. However, Diesel, I'm going to tell you.
Just don't say it.
If in my opinion, if I think Gamecock fans had to choose, and again, they may not admit this publicly, but I think in their heart of hearts, way deep down in those hard Gamecock hearts, Diesel, I think they would choose the second, which is beating Clemson and not winning any other games or not winning out. Yeah, I really do, man. I think deep down they hate Clemson so much. As long as they beat Clemson, they would be okay, even if they didn't win out in the rest of the SEC games this season.
In most years, when South Carolina to this point has tallied a couple more losses than they have right now, I'd say you're right. But you're thinking with your heart and not with your head. South Carolina fans would much rather win out in the SEC. We're going to give you the Wofford win as granted.
Congratulations.
But now, Cole, you're talking about an 8-win season, which would be the best season for South Carolina in a long time. 8-win season with wins over Oklahoma, ranked Texas A&M, possibly still ranked at the time Vanderbilt, possibly still ranked at the time Missouri. That's when this gets a little iffy, right?
Yeah.
That's when it gets tough, because if Vandy loses this weekend badly, they're out of the top 25, so that's no longer a ranked win. If Missouri loses this weekend, they could be out of the top 25. So you may only have 2 ranked teams left on your schedule by the time you play them, Texas A&M and Clemson. But no, the answer has to be, for South Carolina fans, win out in the SEC, because then you will have beaten a team that is on paper and program-wise better than you, Texas A&M. And you would have handled teams that you're supposed to handle down the stretch, losing only, Cole, to the teams that are just the next level elite programs in the SEC. It's got to be win out, go 8-5.
Now, it should be, to clarify, it should be winning the SEC games. However, I'm telling you, man, I don't think South Carolina fans may admit it publicly, but I do believe that they hate Clemson that much. They don't care. Long as they beat Clemson, that's their Super Bowl.
There you go. That's round number 1 of the 5 o'clock fight. Let's go to round number 2.
Round 2. Fight.
I'm going to give you 3 options on this one, Cole.
Uh-oh.
Will one of, both of, or neither of Andy Dalton and Bryce Young be a Carolina Panther in 2025?
Will one of, both of, or neither? I really do believe Diesel, that they're in a situation where they really don't have many options. As of right now, I think they're both on the roster in 2025. And I think you're singing the same swan song. You're singing off the same sheet of music, Diesel, in 2025 that you were in 2024. I just don't think their options are that open. I know in a dream scenario, you'd like to have Quinn Ewers or Carson Beck or somebody out there really leading the charge. However, I don't know if you're the Panthers, other than that draft pick, because you may have a pretty high draft pick. I don't know what you have to offer to get another quarterback in. So I'll go both. I think we're running it back in 25.
Oh, man, I think this is tough because Andy Dalton's 36. He'll be 37 next year.
Yeah, it's good
Bryce
math,
Young
by the way.
sucks. He'll be sucky +1 next year. Since
14.
you like the math so much.
14, I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna say neither of these guys are gonna be on this roster next year.
Whoa.
Because Andy's old. Bryce sucks so bad. I think they're gonna cut him. Honestly, I think they're gonna cut him. Let somebody just go pay whatever his rookie salary is. So I'm gonna say neither Andy Dalton nor Bryce Young. You say both of them will be on the roster.
You said they're gonna
next
cut
year.
him. Cut him.
Cut his ass. Move on. Get him out of here.
Oh, man.
Start fresh. You can't have that guy moping around the locker room, making everybody feel bad. It looks like everybody's little brother hanging out. That's not cool.
Well, you can't see him half the time.
All right, here we go.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that's true. It's true.
Bryce, did they stuff you in the towel hamper again?
I mean,
Yes, I'm Bryce Young, and I'm in the towel hamper.
Okay, here we go. Round number 3.
Final round. Fight.
Cole, you tell a story here. You were at a fine upscale diner recently.
Yeah, you want to guess the name of it?
Waffle House?
Yes.
It's great, man. The silverware is clean half the time, so it's good. The waitress made you choose between grits or hash browns.
I hate when they do that.
Which is the superior breakfast item if you had to choose? Now, here's the thing about Waffle House. They will sell you both.
Yeah, but you got to pay. You got to pay extra.
Well, yeah, of course
I don't want to do that.
Well, you're getting more food.
Yeah, but I don't want to have to pay extra. Food's already way too high to begin with.
If only you could go half and half. Like, give me half hash browns, half grits.
Not bad. Not a bad idea.
Delicious. But
it would be good.
You can only choose one. Which
I
one
hate doing that. I hate it. They'll say grits for hash browns. I'm like, it's the hardest decision I think I've ever had to face in my life.
Now, are we talking just plain grits, plain hash browns, or however it is you choose to church it up?
However, this one's incredibly difficult.
That is hard.
And all of the 5 o'clock fight challenges we've had, I don't know that I've been torn because both are fantastic. However, me being, we're both from the Carolinas. I'm from the South. I got to have the grits. I want the cheese, the butter, salt and pepper. I'm a grits guy, man. I love grits. So that's what I chose the other day when I was there. And that's what I'll do again. Grits over hash browns.
You're so wrong, Cole, because they take these hash browns and then here's the way I do it. I do it smothered, covered, chunked, capped, and peppered.
Good God, what do you not want, sir?
I think sauce. I think the gravy, and the chili are the only things that I don't put on there.
Chili's
but
good.
I want the ham. I want the onions. I want the mushrooms.
Yes.
I want the jalapenos, and I want the cheese.
No jalapenos.
Yeah, man, get it going. If I could ask if they're super nice, I ask them to put the jalapenos on the grill for a little bit before they put them in there. But no, the answer is the hash browns. They're just far superior. Got better flavor, crispy on the outside, a little bit quote unquote undercooked on the inside. It's absolutely perfect. The hash browns at Waffle House, and you'll never change my mind.
By the way, I do ask for mine a little more cooked.
Yeah,
I don't like soggy
hash browns,
not cooked hash browns. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're good.
Cook them things, man.
There you go. That's our 5 o'clock fight. To recap round number 1. If South Carolina fans could only choose one of these two scenarios, which one do we believe in our heart of hearts they would actually choose? Cole said that he would take, if he was South Carolina, they would take beating Clemson but losing out in the SEC, which is 3 remaining games, or winning out in the SEC and beating Clemson. I say winning out in the SEC. Cole says beat Clemson. Round 2, which one of, will one of, both of, or neither of Andy Dalton and Bryce Young be a Carolina Panther in 2025? Cole said both of them because, well, they're just not going to go out and move around on another quarterback, right?
Panthers. You're listening to the Fan Upstate.
Do you think they draft a quarterback? They have to draft a quarterback. What if you had? What if you had two top 5 quarterbacks in 3 years?
I don't know if they do. I mean, what is it gonna do at this point, man? What are you gonna do?
You're saying both of them will be there. I say neither of them will be there. And then round 3 of the 5 o'clock fight, Cole was at a Waffle House and they made him choose between grits or hash browns. You can church them up however you want, but are you going with the grits or the hash browns? Cole is a Southern man. He's going with the grits. I'm going with the hash browns. I love them. I love the hash browns at Waffle House. What say you? Who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight? Text in right now, 71307. Start your text with keyword fan, and you can suggest a 5 o'clock fight that you want us to get to next week. Here's how. Maybe. Hey.
Diesel and Co-Bryce in the fight about next. If you've got an ass, I'll kick it. Submit your topics to Diesel at thefanupstate.com. Subject line fight on the Fan Upstate.
Diesel, while the votes come in, you want to hear from one of your favorite people in the world?
Is it Bryce Young?
No, it's not Bryce Young. It's Leprechaun of Lyman. I love the
Leprechaun of Lyman.
That's what I'm saying. One of your favorite people to get his upset pick while the Tolos get their votes in for the 5 o'clock fight on the text line and on the stream. Let's go to the phones where Leprechaun of Lyman wants to get his upset pick in. What's up, man?
Boys, it's been a bit since we last spoke. Oh, incidentally, Diesel, you swept the fight. Congratulations. Here's me upset pick now.
Hiddly who indeed.
Give me Vanderbilt over Texas plus 18.5. Now to me Irish. We're playing an underrated opponent this week. This smack-talking leprechaun has some words to say. I'm not sure I can say them, though, because it's Navy we play. How can you bash the boys that defend us? Smack talk the Warriors tried and true. How can you say anything negative, though they're facing me gold and blue? Navy, we thank you for keeping our country secure, so smack talkers like me can have a place to endure. We're grateful you give us freedoms to be able to play football games, but you're about to get your butts kicked by that grand old Notre Dame.
Did he just?
I thought he cut himself off.
Drop the mic?
I think he dropped the mic. Yeah.
He literally dropped the mic.
Fantastic job, as
good.
always.
I've got a
Leprechaun of Lyman.
I believe I've got a, here we go. Golf clap.
But I got the sweep from Leprechaun of Lyman. That's all that matters. We don't need to go to any more.
Don't even read the text.
We don't need to go
just
to
hang it up, man.
More. I'll start with the stream.
That's great, though, by the way.
How about that?
Right.
Scotty from BMW says, at least with round number 1, you were 100% preaching the truth, Cole, saying that South Carolina fans would take the win over Clemson and a negative sweep for the remaining couple of games in the SEC. He says, Cole gets the sweep. Diesel, you're losing your edge. That comes from Scotty.
Oh, man.
Scotty from BMW. Madcraft says Diesel wins round 1. Neither wins round 2. Bryce Young might as well be a bag of peanuts. He's not going anywhere. Diesel wins round 3. Smothered, covered, and chunked, baby.
We've got to get them on as a sponsor as much as we talk about Waffle House, you know? I mean, come on. What are we doing, man? What are we doing? Leprechaun Lyman was fantastic, by the way. Let's see. What are the texters saying? 71307 texter says, Cole, beating your rival is always a priority. Round 2, no one. They'll have to keep Bryce Young just because he's in the middle of his rookie contract. And then let me click on the text. Round 3, Diesel. Sorry, guys, it's a tie. You can't have a question with 3 answers, and neither one of you get it right. Tolo Steve. Go Buckeyes, says Tolo Steve. Let's see. Texter says Diesel round 1, Diesel round 2, and Cole round 3. You got the win there. Clemson Oculus getting his upset pick in. Mike Main goes round 1, Diesel. Super Bowl be damned. Round 2, Diesel. Panthers will make some moves at quarterback in the offseason. Round 3, Cole. Grits is the only answer. How about that? Texter says, I love grits, but they don't love me. I get the BGs after.
How? There's nothing to them.
I've never had a bubble guts from grits.
How did grits give you that? How?
Goodness gracious. Texter says, if you have to add something to food to make it enjoyable, it's not good food. Grits suck. Texter.
That is not true.
Texter, I'm going to block you.
Go back to Ohio.
I mean, I'm just so upset with you, Texter. I'm not going to block you.
You skipped, by the way. You skipped over JD's vote. He says Diesel round 1, Diesel round 2, and night, JD's phone is dying.
I don't see that one.
It doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter. It's a little farther down. It's it's just north of JC's.
I did not do that on purpose. Just let me see.
It doesn't matter because I get rounds 1 and 2. It doesn't matter who wins round 3.
And well, JD, charge your phone up, buddy. Plug that thing in. Texter says, this is Brandon Burnett. As a Gamecock fan, I'll take the wins over SEC this year, and you are 100% right. Grits, just not what I'm getting from the WoHo. Let me click on the text. Yeah, that's it. Not getting the grits.
Twisted Whisker, who is leading our upset picks challenge, so his text counts for 2, by the way, says Diesel with the sweep. So I'll take 2 sweeps from Twisted Whisker. How about that? And then Wesley Roberts getting in says, I missed the fight questions, but have a feeling Cole won today. He was due.
Thanks, Wesley. Thanks. Texter says, I'm from Powdersville, not Ohio. Grits suck, but don't block me. Texter, I'm just kidding. Texter says, I guess I'm lactose intolerant. I put cheese and bacon in my grits. Well, don't put cheese in the grits, and you won't be eating anything.
Little pleasure with the pain. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
it's like,
man.
Is cheese worth it? Yes, it is. Depends on how good the cheese is.
It is. Diesel, let's hear from Billy Horn, who wants to chime in on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. Billy, what's up, man?
Not much, boys. How we doing?
Good.
Great, Billy.
Diesel with the sweep today.
Yes.
I give that one to Diesel today.
That's rough.
Thank you, Billy.
Sorry, Cole. But now, for the leprechaun of linemen, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish are going down to the midshipmen of Navy. I am taking Navy plus 13.
Wow.
Love it.
Can you give me a why? What's your reason behind that?
I just think that the way Navy runs the ball and the way that Notre Dame is predicated on turning the football over at least once a game, Notre Dame is going to control the tempo, hold the ball out. Notre Dame's not going to be able to throw it all over the yard. And I think Navy holds off and pulls this game out in the end.
I like it, Billy. I like it.
Now, could you imagine how hot Marcus Freeman's seat would be if he loses to 2 G5s in the same year?
Be hot. Billy, we appreciate it, man.
Not a problem, boys. You have a good one.
Thanks,
you
Billy.
too, Billy. No, it'd be pretty warm.
Yeah,
would not be good. You set
the exact schedule that you want, make it as easy for yourself as possible, and then all of a sudden, bam!
Yeah,
you've lost to 2 G5 teams. That will be a rough year for old Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, you got to win this one. And again, that's no disrespect to Navy, because they're a good team. To Billy's point, they really are a good team. I'm high on them. I just, I think Kelley Ford, Diesel, might be right. It might just be a story, and I don't want it to be, but it might just be a nice story. If you missed the Kelley Ford interview, we'll have that for you later in the show.
Guess what, Cole? We've just hit our 60th entry today.
No way.
60th pick. So that means we're on track
to
hit our 120. Like I said, normally we hit about half of them on the first day, and we've still got an hour and 40 minutes of the show left.
Awesome,
so Tolos, those of you who haven't even gotten an upset pick in before, that's totally fine. Jump into the challenge. We'll tell you more about it a little bit later on in the show. Stick around. We got something we want to get to next, but we want you getting into this challenge.
No doubt about it. We will also have Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered coming up in about 20 minutes from now. But, Diesel, the biggest NFL surprises thus far in 2024, what's caught you off guard the most this NFL season? Tolos will ask you as well next. I want to ask the question, Diesel, what the biggest surprise has been in the 2024 NFL season thus far. I do want to go to the phones before we do that, though. Tom's been holding through the break, and if you know Tom probably is opinionated today. It usually is. And by the way, Diesel, we did not yesterday. We were on location, so we'll have to move Tolo Takeover later this week. Have to move it. Tolos didn't have their chance. I was going to say they didn't have their chance to take over, so we'll move that maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday. Tom, we appreciate you calling in. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. What do you want to talk about, Tom?
Well, here's my thing about the Gamecocks the rest of the way.
Okay.
Right? And your previous guest mentioned it earlier in the show. But if the Gamecocks are 8-3 when they go up to Little Valley up there in the upstate, if the Gamecocks are 8-3, that game could have a lot more meaning than just a typical old South Carolina Clemson game. Because you got to look at it this way. The next 3 games on South Carolina's schedule could make or break Shane Beamer's tenure, if we're being honest, right? And that Clemson game, you could argue, might be the 4th toughest game left if you really look at the schedule. So if the Gamecocks can take care of business against A&M, Vanderbilt, and Missouri, you better watch out, old Tigers, because Beamer ain't losing that one. You can mark it down. The Gamecocks are going to win out, and that game in Clemson is going to be one of the biggest South Carolina Clemson games in rivalry history.
So, Tom, I appreciate how you can do this juxtaposition thing where you can rag on Clemson, put down Clemson, make fun of the stadium. I'm surprised you don't call it Death Ditch, not Death Valley. But then you say at the same time, it's one of the biggest games in series history. So which is it? Are you playing a big opponent or are you not playing a big opponent?
Clemson's good. You can't deny the fact that Clemson is a good team. They are. You'd be lying if you said otherwise. I'll rag on them all every day, 365 days a year. But they are a good team. They beat a lot of cupcakes. They do beat a lot of cupcakes. But as the rivalry history has shown, that doesn't matter in that game. So all I'm saying is, for the sake of this rivalry, Clemson, if y'all take care of business and do your job, South Carolina takes care of business and does their job, that game on November 30th could be a lot of fun.
Well,
could be, Tom.
Yeah, you make a good point there, Tom, because this game hasn't actually meant a whole lot in the grand scheme of college football, obviously, for a number of years. So this rivalry needs an injection of both of these teams being good for the nation to start paying attention to it again.
And speaking of injection, Tom, Tom in Somerville, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, one more thing real quick. Lamont Paris and the boys are coming. I hope y'all are ready. They're going to be good again, boys.
Hey, Tom, have you given us an upset pick? I know you texted in earlier and said Clemson was going to lose to the bye week.
That doesn't count.
But that doesn't count as an upset pick.
Yeah.
You got one for us?
North Texas over Tulane.
What's the spread?
7.5.
7.5. Tolo
right.
Tom. Appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you,
Tolo
Tom.
Tom in Somerville. The water must be different in Somerville, man. I don't know what's in the water down there, Diesel, but it must be different. Tom starts here. He's just kind of methodical, slow today, and all of a sudden, he just takes off. It's like the plane in Top Gun. It looks like it's coming slow, and then bam, it shakes the whole place. He goes from 0 to 100 pretty dang quick. So as Diesel said, you can continue to get your upset pick in 71307. I asked the question, and we've had a few Tolos chime in already. What's been the biggest surprise to you thus far in the NFL season? Tolo Steve on the text line, he chimes in. He says, biggest surprise in the NFL this year is how bad my Cleveland Browns suck. they should have re-signed Joe Flacco. Tolo Steve, go Buckeyes. That's a good one, but Diesel, I'm not surprised they suck.
The Browns have always sucked.
And Deshaun hasn't been good in a while. You know, maybe Tolo Steve's right and the Joe Flacco that they should have re-signed him. Joe Flacco's better than Deshaun Watson. Can't believe those words. You know, I mean, at that age, I can't believe he's still better. But Deshaun Watson before the injury, man, he wasn't it. He's not it.
Scotty from BMW on the stream hit the nail on the head for me. Number one, it's to see Baker Mayfield continue playing at a high level, playing old school Baker Mayfield football. I mean, I watched a little bit of their game earlier this week, and Baker was throwing little shovel passes. He was being creative. Now,
playing good.
The second half of that football game did not go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers way.
No defense.
But no defense. But I mean, Baker's still playing really good football. So something switched in his mind a year under Dave Canales, and that's obviously what Dave Tepper was hoping for when he hired the guy to come be a head coach. But the fact that Baker Mayfield has continued to play better football after having spent time with Dave Canales, that's a big one.
No, I don't disagree with that. I like that one a lot because I like Baker Mayfield, man. Seeing him do what he's been doing this season, Diesel, to your point, it's been fun to watch. He's really proved a lot of people wrong. And look, I think he's showing right now that he still has a lot of value, like as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He's really playing well. My biggest surprise thus far, though, Diesel, and I don't know, I might find another one, but my number one surprise is I thought we'd see a bounce back from Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I thought we'd see them kind of this season. I don't know if they dealt with injuries and other things like that, but Diesel, I felt like this season after Joe Burrow being injured, I felt like he would elevate his game to the next level and elevate this team, and they would be early in the season a true Super Bowl contender. They're not. They're 0-3 in their own building. They're 3-4 on the season, a losing record. They're just a bad football team. Mm-hmm. And for them to be 3-4 at the end of October, that's probably my biggest surprise. The Browns, that totally shocked me. But Joe Burrow, I mean, he took the worst offensive line in the NFL to a Super Bowl against Patty Mahomes. I did not expect the Bengals to be this bad.
How about here's a big surprise, Cole. Even after doing a seance in his locker room, even after pouring a little bit of rum into the glass of the Jobu statue that he clearly has somewhere stashed inside of the Jets facility, that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets still suck. How is that possible?
I love it, though.
He's gotten the pieces that he wanted, and yet he still sucks. Aaron Rodgers, how does this happen? It's not fair. It's not fair what's happening to you, Aaron.
Don't jinx it. I like it. I like it right now. I like what's happening. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. So I know I'm with you there. That's a good surprise, though. Texter says, biggest surprise in the NFL is the entire NFC North. That's a good one. I knew one of those teams would be good, but all of them are still contending for the division. Texter, that's a very good point. I don't know if anybody believed, Texter, that Minnesota would be as good as they are. 5-1 start. You're right. The Packers are good. Jordan Love's good. And the Bears, you look up, the Bears are 4-2. You're right. The division is tight right now. The NFC North is the best division in football. It's the best division in football. 5-1, 5-1, 5-2, 4-2. Four good teams. And, you know, the jury's still out a little bit on Caleb Williams and the Bears. But, Texter, I like that one a lot.
Here's another good one, Cole, for you. CJ Stroud and the way he's just continued his upward climb for the Houston Texans. I mean, he's got 10 touchdowns to 4 interceptions this year, 1,700 yards almost through 7 games. CJ Stroud, we didn't know if he was going to be a flash in the pan, if he was going to be, you know, some kind of world beater, but he's shown himself to be a really, really good quarterback that consistently operates at a high level year in and year out.
Let's see. One more text, then we got to run. Texter says, biggest surprise, the entire NFC South. Does the NFC South have to just give their football up? I mean, death penalty. Is that what you mean, Texter? Is the NFC South going to receive the death penalty? Because they have not been good. They have not. But some really good text, though, from the Tolos.
When we come back, Cole, it is time for us to focus on the Southeastern Conference, which is not entirely in the southeastern part of the United States. We talk to Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered about all things SEC next. Momentarily here, going to be joined by Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. He jumps in on the stream now. Number one, because you guys love seeing Chris's face. Number two, because it just sounds a heck of a lot better than having a phone call.
I had a Tolo the other day say, buddy of mine in Gaffney, he said, hey, I just want to let y'all know, he said, those guests on the stream sound like they're in studio.
Yeah.
He said, they sound great.
Excited to talk some SEC ball with Chris here in just a minute as he has confirmed that he is jumping into the stream here as soon as he possibly can.
He probably didn't pay his internet. He probably didn't have the
He's
internet.
got Spectrum. Is the Spectrum still outage?
Oh, if he has Spectrum, my Spectrum has gone in and out probably 10 times in the last 2 weeks.
Are they gonna prorate your bill for the month?
It's a great question. I didn't have internet all day yesterday.
I think you should call him up.
Last Monday, Monday Night Football, didn't have internet.
Say, don't you know who I am? I dropped that card.
And I'll tell you what, thank goodness, thank the Lord that I have a Wi-Fi hotspot that I use occasionally.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for that, I'd be up the creek. I really would be.
There he is, Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered, joining the chat here on the stream. You can jump in and watch on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Chris, I just want to know, I'm putting you in charge of the planning committee. How tall will the statue of Diego Pavia be on campus there in Nashville if he does it again, if he takes down Texas? That's a silly question. But I asked you this question off the air last week, and I want you to bring your answer on the air for us here. How is Vanderbilt, a team that's always been at the bottom of the barrel of the SEC, who's now in the top 25, capitalizing on this sudden success?
Yeah, Diesel, first things first. Appreciate you having me on. Cole as well. Great to see you. The limit does not exist when it comes to the height of the statue. First things first. I don't think you can make it too tall if he's able to do what most feel like is the unthinkable and lead the doors to a win over Texas. But, I mean, listen, I think it starts with Diego Pavia when you're able to get a gamer at quarterback. And I think for Vanderbilt, here's the thing, what they did, bringing in Tim Beck as offensive coordinator as well. At a place like Vanderbilt, you can either be better, lesser, or different. You can be one of three things in college football. And at a place like Vanderbilt, and there's probably some other schools that should adopt this as well, at a place like Vanderbilt, you're probably not going to be better. You're not going to be better than the upper echelon or even upper half of the SEC. So if you don't want to be lesser than, you got to be different than. And when you look at Diego Pavia, you look at the offense under Tim Beck, it's this kind of like option thing where they use him in both the running game and the passing game, and they're able to get defenses on their heels. That's exactly what they did to Alabama. Like, I don't think Vanderbilt top to bottom is better than Alabama personnel-wise, but they did some things schematically that got them off balance. And then you've got a gamer like Diego Pavia that's got the mentality that he has and the guts and the grit. And I know those intangibles are a little bit overused at times. When you have a guy like that, I mean, you can look across the SEC. I bet you Hugh Freeze at Auburn wishes he had a guy like Diego Pavia under center. There's some others out there as well. They wish they had a guy like number 2 in the black and gold in Nashville. So, yeah, you mix all those things together, and I think it's where we are with the Vanderbilt Commodores. And listen, they're big underdogs yet again, but I don't think Diego Pavia and that crew would have it any other way.
Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. That's who you're hearing right now on the Fan Upstate. Chris, earlier in the show, Diesel and I found out we got dirty. We got in the sandbox and dug deep, and we found out just how good Shane Beamer was, in our opinion, as well as the opinion of our Tolos out there. We ranked them head-to-head against the other SEC coaches. Diesel had them 11th. Is that right, Diesel?
Yeah,
11th
I had 10 coaches in the SEC that I considered better than Shane Beamer.
And I had 8. So I had him at 9. Diesel had him at 11. Are those fair or unfair? And where would Shane Beamer rank, in your opinion, right now in the SEC?
Yeah, I think right in that range is fair for now. I think going into this season, I had Beamer around that 10 spot. I'd maybe probably have him, again, just kind of blindly looking or thinking of my list off the top of my head. I'd probably have him in that like 8 or 9 spot, to your point. I think maybe because of I think I might have had Mark Stoops ahead of Beamer going into the season. I probably bump Beamer ahead of him now just because of, he owns the guy on the field. And also you kind of look at the trajectory of the Kentucky program. And, I think there'd be a few I'd probably interchange with Shane Beamer. Yeah, he's right in that 9 or 10 spot, 8 or 9 spot, maybe. I think I may have had Hugh Freeze ahead of him too, which right now, I'd take Shane Beamer over Hugh Freeze. So yeah, he's kind of right in that mid tier where we're still sort of waiting to see, okay, what is South Carolina going to be year in, year out under Shane Beamer, who they're going to be. I think these last couple games, obviously with the Gamecocks, are going to tell us a lot, but yeah, right there, middle tier, I think is where Shane Beamer fits in.
Chris, what's the vibe been as you're now studying all of these fan bases, the vibe around Texas this week following that ugly performance on the field and in the stands, and just big picture societally speaking here, does it creep you out a little bit that they're using AI to identify which students were throwing things and then pulling their tickets for the remainder of the season?
Yeah, it is interesting, kind of scary for sure. But it's funny. When I went to the LSU Ole Miss game a few weeks ago, they had like I'm sure we've seen this across college football before, but they had like the fandom picture or whatever of, I don't exactly know how to phrase this, but they took a giant picture of everybody in the stadium, and you could zoom in and find yourself and tag yourself, and it was super high definition. So yeah, they're watching us. They're listening to us. They see us, So I think the vibe around the conference, guys, is, everybody who's not a Texas fan kind of looked at that Georgia-Texas game and said, hey, welcome to the SEC. Like this is, you wanted big boy football and you wanted the challenge that is Kirby Smart, the Dogs, and you got it. So I don't think there's any sympathy for the Longhorns across the conference. I think most people across the conference as well, with that being said, are expecting Texas to bounce back and beat Vanderbilt this weekend in Nashville. But this year has been so wacky and so crazy, guys. You can take nothing for granted. But again, I think most kind of look, and some SEC brethren kind of smile and say, hey, welcome to the SEC. Oklahoma too, right? Because they've been going through it as well.
Speaking of Oklahoma, Chris, I wanted to ask, is your opinion of South Carolina any different today than it was last week before South Carolina pretty much dominated the Sooners?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more positive just because I give South Carolina credit for going in there and handling business. I don't think it was some guaranteed win. The Gamecocks were going to go into Norman. And I obviously now hindsight's 2020, right? We sit here and, Brent Venables is fired as offensive coordinator and just the issues they have on the offensive side. But, I mean, again, for South Carolina to go in there, it was a pivotal game for both sides. And, that defense, I mean, my opinion on the defense continues to become more and more and more positive. And it's funny, I feel like I shouldn't be all that surprised because as somebody that, knows Travian Robertson. Travian's a friend of our show. I've had the opportunity to interview him, and I was really close with his mentor and his coach in college, the late, great Brad Lawing. I don't feel like I should be that surprised what we're seeing from the defensive front, especially when you consider the way they upgraded personnel-wise. But, yeah, I'm a little bit more positive on South Carolina. I think they're a little bit ahead of where I thought they would be. They're a little bit better this year, admittedly, than I thought they would be. And, I think going in these last few games, again, you've got the bye week and then A&M coming to town. You've got the challenges. At Vandy's no longer a given. The game against Mizzou, Clemson, Wofford. I mean, you got a chance to get to 6 or 7 wins. And even in a year in which, the quarterback position, Lenora Sellers has taken some lumps and it's been just kind of clunky offensively. I mean, guys, if you could get to 7 wins, maybe 8 with a bowl game or even 7 with a bowl game, I think you'd have to consider that a success and setting the stage for a really pivotal 2025. So, yeah, I give South Carolina a lot of credit for going to Norman, scoring a win. Again, that was a game both sides desperately wanted. The Gamecocks not only won the game, but dominated.
Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, joining us here on the Fan Upstate. Chris, staying there with Oklahoma. How much of the decision to move on from the OC was wrapped up in, number one, going for it on a fake punt on your own 20-yard line, which is just a boneheaded move, burning the red shirt of Jackson Arnold when you're down 21 points against South Carolina. I mean, it felt like it was a decision between salvaging the game versus salvaging the season for Oklahoma. How much of that was involved? And I mean, Brent Venables has to be involved with these decisions, right? He can't put that all on his OC.
Yeah, I mean, Diesel, I think it was the final nail in the coffin, but I think the decision to move off Seth Luttrell has been one that's been weeks in the making. I mean, you go back to the game they had against Auburn, you go back to even the Texas game, and I understand the differences in personnel, but that fan base doesn't want to hear it. This is a proud Oklahoma program that's used to winning. So, I started to really see these rumblings, or at least the chatter from the fan base when that game against Auburn took place, and it looked like Oklahoma was dead in the water, and if not for Peyton Thorne just continuing to find ways to lose games and blow it in big moments. He throws the pick 6, obviously. If not for that, this may have happened sooner. But certainly to your point, some of the things that happened in that game against South Carolina, and it's like, you give the Gamecocks all the credit in the world. Their defense is phenomenal this year. The defensive front's one of the best in not just the SEC, but probably the entire country. But on the Oklahoma side, you don't care. You don't want to hear that. It's the ineptitude of the product, like the way it looks, even with the injuries you have. Guys, we know this, right, as well as anybody. There's no excuses in this league. It's a results-oriented business, fairly or unfairly. Nobody wants to hear about injuries or schedule or, being in the SEC first year, whatever. I think the way things were handled, the lack of creativity, I thought they gave up on Jackson Arnold too early, if you want my honest opinion. back in that game against Tennessee. And so all that comes together. You have an embarrassing loss at home. Brent Venables got to make a change. But, guys, I mean, we've seen this before, right? It's Brent Venables is cutting out the fat and kind of using this as his ace in the hole, because who's next on the pecking order if things don't get better? It's him. So somebody, there had to be a sacrificial lamb. And now this all, I mean, similar to the way we've talked about Shane Beamer in the past, guys, this next offensive coordinator hire for Brent Venables, I think, is probably going to define his tenure there in Norman, because if you're not scoring points, if you're not, I mean, it's going to make the locals there in Norman very restless if they're not able to get it going offensively. So this next OC is pivotal for him, but certainly a lot of those decisions fall back on Venables. And, guys, I think he and Hugh Freeze are going to be the two we're talking about on the hot seat coaches, I think, going into 2025.
Chris, 30 seconds or less. We're up against it. Your upset pick for Week 9.
The SEC Unfiltered Tour, man, has been on such an incredible run. They'll talk about it for years to come. 4 straight home dogs have won outright. 3 straight field stormings that I've partaken in. I'm going to ride the hot hand, go all in. Also, because if you look at the standings right now, I've got a lot of ground to make up. So I'm pushing my chips to the center of the table. Give me Vanderbilt to pull the outright upset, do the unthinkable. Plus 18.5. Give me all those points. Vandy wins it straight up. And I move near the top of the leaderboard.
Now, Chris, I know you know the SEC the best, but you know you don't have to pick an SEC game, right?
Oh, I know. I just like to. I like to pick a game that I've got some interest in. I hit last week with South Carolina. Like I said, I'm really banking on the magic of the SEC Unfiltered Tour here. So we'll see if we can do it again.
Hey, I'm going big. I'm going Illinois over Oregon. That one's worth, I think, 25.5. Let's go.
Chris, great stuff, man. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week.
Cole Diesel, always a pleasure, guys. Y'all be good. Appreciate it.
That's Chris Phillips. Fantastic stuff. We'll continue to react to what he said, as well as get your thoughts next, right here on the Fan Upstate. 211 Tolos watching on the stream. Make that 212 right now. Not only can you listen to the best sports radio show ever created, Wire to Wire. He's Diesel, I'm Cole Bryson, but you can watch the show every day, the full show, 3 to 7 p.m. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. Those are the 3 platforms at the Fan Upstate. That's how you can watch the show at the Cole Bryson on Twitter. We retweet it from the Fan Upstate account. But we're going to continue to ask for your upset picks. 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Again, that's 71307. If you have not played in the contest as of yet, or the challenge rather as of yet, we ask that you do so. Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles Markets. And as of right now, Diesel, we have 60 plus Tolos. Is that right?
God, now I'm
You owe me a $1 now,
67
What?
Tolos who have made their picks already this week in the Upset Picks Challenge.
67.
I think we can get 75 by the end of the show.
Oh,
I think it can happen. I think it can
We
happen.
still have another hour?
Yeah. So, like, some of you Tolos might be unfamiliar with the challenge and how this thing works. And you may be saying to yourself, well, you know, it's middle of the season. I don't really want to get into this thing right now. You can jump right in and you can make your way up the leaderboard. We had a texter earlier who said that he had 0 points, but he said on 4 10-ish point spreads in a row. And now he's in the top 10 of this challenge.
Yeah, big time.
It could happen, Tolos. You could jump right in and rocket to the top. Look, this has been a year of weird upsets, right? Vanderbilt taking down Alabama. You see big upsets every single week, and you could just hit on one of those massive upsets this week, and that's what I'm hoping to do because
who'd you pick, Diesel?
I picked Illinois to upset Oregon, and that one is worth. Let's see. That one is worth 21.5 points. The thing is, Cole, Illinois is a 6-1 football team.
Yeah, they're
like
good
it's
team.
not like Illinois sucks. Like I didn't pick it out of nowhere. Illinois is a good football team. They just so happen to be going on the road at Autzen Stadium against Oregon. And
it's a good pick.
Yeah, I think it's worth. I think it's disrespectful to Illinois to be a 21.5 point spread.
Well,
that's crazy to me. For a team that's 6-1,
you're swinging for the fences, and if you hit, you're going to be sitting really pretty. You really are. Diesel, I went with Duke over SMU. The spread on that game is 11.5 points in favor of SMU. The mascot, Mustangs. I knew it's the horse. I about said I forget this. SMU horses.
They're
the donkeys. The horses.
Yeah. The jackasses. No, that's us. Sorry.
I like Duke, man. Look, these upset picks are hard to come by unless you're Amazon guy, unless you're Twisted Whisker, unless you're the best of the absolute best of the Tolos. They really are hard to come by. Diesel and I have only hit twice this season, 2 times. Yeah. So 4 times total. We'll add there and claim 4.
I'm going to be mad at you if Duke does hit over SMU because I was looking at that one. That was as of yesterday.
Yeah.
That's the one that I was looking at and I was thinking about taking. But then I'm like, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time to swing big. Let's see. Anything could happen, right? Anything is possible.
Well, you're hoping so. And that game Saturday, my game, Duke SMU, is 8 o'clock kickoff in Durham. I'm banking on Malik Murphy. I'm banking on the Blue Devils to pull us through. So, Tolos, not too late to get your upset pick in, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Tolo Phil Diesel said Navy plus 13 over Notre Dame. Eat that, leprechaun.
Ooh, Tolo Phil.
I like it, Tolo Phil. A little heated there. Fred S. just texted into the show. He wants to go with Missouri. I'll tell you what, man, I don't know about Missouri getting 13.5 over Bama. Fred S.
Why does Vegas still love Alabama so much?
So you like that game?
I think it's a wise pick. I mean, I think it could happen. Missouri, we've been talking all year. We talked all offseason, rather, about them having a quarterback with some seasoning on him.
Yeah.
Having a receiving room with a lot of age on them. And things just haven't really panned out for Missouri.
They have not.
You know, we thought, oh, this team is going to be crazy good this year. They're going to challenge for a playoff spot. And they haven't been as elite as we thought they were going to be. But it's not like they're a bad football team.
Well, the only reason I would push back and throw caution to that game,
6-1.
I know, but Bama off of a loss. I don't like picking against Bama twice in a row. Unless the world is coming to an end, Bama's not going to lose 2 in a row, are they?
If they did, Kalen DeBoer is seriously on the hot seat.
Just burn it. Burn the ship.
Dunzo.
I mean, are you kidding me? There's no way they go. And again, that same idiot said that Bama was not going anywhere and they were still good. I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe they do. I have not been impressed with Missouri, man. I have not been impressed.
Well, I haven't been
Missouri.
impressed with Alabama.
Well, that's fair. But somebody's got to win the game, right?
Right.
Philip Rollins.
But that's why I think it's not a bad pick. It's worth a good chunk of points.
You talked me into it a little bit. Philip Rollins says Navy plus 13, Diesel. I believe we've now had several Navy plus 13 picks.
Quite a few.
In fact, Forrest also just about 30 minutes ago took Navy over Notre Dame. Let's see. In the 5 o'clock hour, Pac-Fan Shuff went Missouri over Alabama. In the 5 o'clock hour, Brandon and Moore said, I'll take Georgia Tech and 10.5 over Virginia Tech. Did you not take Georgia Tech last week or no?
No, I looked at Georgia Tech over Notre Dame, and
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't because that one didn't hit.
Did
I mean,
not
it wouldn't
hit.
have mattered whether I took that one or the one that I did. 'Cause
No.
I don't think any of the games that I actually looked at last week hit.
AJ 803.
So I was all the way wrong.
Well, it's okay. We most of the time are. AJ 803 says MTSU over Jacksonville State. AJ 803, that game's tonight, dog. That game, you'll find out if you're a winner or a loser tonight. How do you pronounce this one? Young Gravy Nuts. Is that right? YNGRVYNUTZ. Is that somebody's name? Is that your birth name? Because if it is, that's a fantastic name. Taking Ken over Kennesaw State. That game's tonight as well, right? Over Liberty. Oh, God,
that's
27 points.
5-0 versus an 0-6 game.
No.
0-6 team.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
Kennesaw State, welcome to FBS football. Like, honestly, I barely knew that Kennesaw State existed, and then I heard they were moving up into FBS football. Somebody in the state of Georgia needs to just get a hold of all these programs that are moving up. It's crazy.
I think I'm doing some research here quickly. I think I called a game at Kennesaw State one time. 2017, I believe North Greenville played at Kennesaw State, 38-34.
They were Division II then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a rapid ascension.
Yeah.
And trying to get yourself in a place where you could be playing FBS football
Isn't that
within
crazy?
a couple of years. It's wild.
That was 2017, Diesel.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember being at a playoff game. App was playing South Dakota State or something. And at the time, South Dakota State, good football program, still are. I remember talking to a Jackrabbits fan, and he said, hey, look out for North Dakota State. They're coming.
Wow.
Like those guys, he goes, those guys were Division III like 10 years ago. Then they moved up. They were crushing people in Division
right,
III.
wasn't he?
Moved up to Division II, crushing people. They moved up to FCS, have been crushing people for over a decade at this point. Not quite what they used to be, of course.
No.
But that's a program, Cole, that if it was even remotely closer to a power conference, would probably or a G5 conference would be in one right now. You just don't realize how massive the western half of the United States are. I mean, if Fargo, North Dakota, if the MAC had half a brain, the MAC would invite North Dakota State to be in that conference, even though it's like 3,000 miles away from any other MAC school.
Yeah, that's true. Fred S., I believe Fred Savage, Fred S. on the text line Diesel, he says, look, Missouri's 6-1, getting Bama in the worst stretch they've played in a minute, lost to Vandy, almost lost to South Carolina, and lost to Tennessee. Fred, I know just because I wouldn't pick it, I'm with you. Diesel kind of talked me into it a little bit. It's not a terrible pick. So best of luck to you. I hope it hits. My only logic, my only thinking is I just don't know that Bama loses. I'll tell you this. Here's where I could be wrong. Nick Saban wouldn't lose 2 in a row. So, you know what I mean? However, Nick Saban's not coaching, so I can't confidently say that Alabama won't lose 2 in a row. But if Alabama's still anything close to what they have been, they shouldn't lose 2 in a row. I mean, what? Bama losing 2 in a row, the world's coming to an end in Alabama. I mean, literally.
So doing some quick geography here. The closest school in the MAC that North Dakota State would be near would be Northern Illinois. And that is a 9.5-hour drive between the two schools.
That's
600 miles.
Wow.
600 miles between those two schools. I mean, there's some old school conference maps, Cole, where the two farthest teams away from each other were less than 600 miles apart.
That's crazy.
But put them in there.
Yeah,
what are you afraid of? The MAC, you cowards?
Right?
Put them in your
out
conference.
Rick from Greer wants to chime in on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. It is 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Save that number in your phone with the Fan Upstate. That way you can hit us up anytime. Rick, what's happening, my man?
Okay. I'm going to break some news for you, but one day before it's going to happen, okay?
Okay.
Bryce Young's going to be traded to Jacksonville for a second-round pick and Sunshine Boy from Clemson. He's headed to Carolina. He'll be the first player ever played for Carolina from Clemson. It will happen tomorrow. Just give me credit for it. Okay?
Now, what are you basing this off of?
Do what?
What are you
basing?
basing?
Am I basing it on?
Yeah.
I'm basing it on an ex-GM from the Carolina Panthers. Mark Richardson is one of my friends, and he called and he said, "Keep your mouth shut, but I know you love Carolina Panthers, and this is what they're talking about doing. It's going to happen. Watch it."
Well, you definitely didn't keep your mouth shut, did you?
Yeah, you just told it to millions of people.
I never keep my mouth shut, okay? I got a habit of running my freaking mouth, okay? And I'm always kidding around, so I don't have the credibility.
That's right.
I want my credibility when it happens tomorrow.
Well, Rick, listen, how about this?
Let's record that. Let's have it ready to go.
Well, I've got it recorded. I'll have it ready tomorrow. And Rick, I'll do you one better. If you're right, I'll let you, Diesel and I will let you lead an entire segment and we call it the Rick segment for one. I mean, there's no way you're right on this. You're not going to be right.
Okay. I'm telling you, there's 3 things I know: table dancing, racing, and football. And this is going to happen.
Wow. Rick, we appreciate it.
Big, bold takes here on the Fan Upstate. If Rick is right, Cole, we need to take him out to a steak dinner.
I was going to say, like, somebody's going to have to buy him a beer or let him lead a segment.
Recall that he said it was going to happen tomorrow. He said it's going to happen tomorrow. So if this happens, Rick, in 2025, it don't count. It has to happen tomorrow.
Is that not hilarious, though?
Wow.
Rick.
Bryce Young for Trevor Lawrence and a pick.
I don't know, Diesel. You and I have done this show since March. I don't know if we'll do the show another year or 10 years or 30, 50, 60. Would this not be the greatest of all time? Rick from Greer calling his shot. I mean, look, I'd
ask Rick for the VIN number on his DeLorean.
That's what I'm saying. If it's true, Rick, like I said, we'll give you the floor. It can be the Rick segment. Diesel will buy you a steak. I'll buy you a steak from Waffle House. I can afford that. It's pretty good.
Yeah. We'll get you an all-star.
An all-star. I mean, Tolo,
nice piece of shoe leather.
Tolo of the Year award, something. Whatever it is, we'll figure out something to make it right.
Wow.
You can have my job, Rick. If it's true, how about that? You just have my job, Rick and Diesel, every day from 3 to 7.
Can he have your salary too?
He probably already does. He probably already does. Would that not be crazy? Rick from Greer. How about that? And by the way, I apologize. Fred S. texted in and said, also, just to clear confusion, this isn't Fred Savage, another Fred S.
How about that?
Sorry about that.
We have so many Tolos, Cole, that it's hard to keep the Tolos straight from one another.
I'm telling you.
Sorry, apologies to the Tolos that we mess up your names and your phone numbers and things like that. But that just means that the Tolo Nation, Tolo Army is getting huge.
Joe D says, I agree with your pick, Cole. I'm going Duke 11.5 over SMU.
How about that?
It's not going to hit if I picked it. I mean,
Philip Rollins is taking Notre Dame, taking Navy over Notre Dame for 13 points.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just reading through a couple of these because, sorry, guys, we can't read every single one of these picks on the air. Notre Dame Nate is taking Georgia Tech over Virginia Tech at 10.5. Cole, you're taking Duke over SMU.
Go Blue Devils, baby.
Shane Barrett's going to find out tonight if he's right or if he's wrong. MTSU and Jacksonville State plus 20.5. Is that the game that's happening tonight, or is that game on Saturday?
No, I think Jacksonville State.
That game is tonight.
I think it's tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, the Kennesaw State and Liberty game is tonight as well. Man, I love Schadenfreude, and I hate seeing Liberty succeed. I would laugh so hard if Liberty lost to Kennesaw.
It would be great. And by the way, how good is DB? Diesel, I was about to ask you a question. Okay, literally 39 seconds ago, I was going to ask you a question.
Rick says no Waffle House, by the way.
And DB answers the question that I was going to ask you before I even DB's that good. DB on the YouTube stream says, so far, 9 people taking Duke. That's a lot.
Yep.
14 taking Navy, the midshipmen, over Notre Dame.
God, I want to see it happen so bad.
I know, but not if I don't pick it.
I just hate. I know I said this yesterday. I hate that Notre Dame commands so much power and respect that they're moving the game off of Navy's campus.
Yeah, MetLife, right? Is that where it is? MetLife Stadium?
Yeah, I don't like it. When we come back, Cole, let's get smarter, okay? How about that? We'll talk to Kelley Ford of K Ford Ratings, kfordratings.com. Definitely look up his website and his social media platforms. He's going to make you smarter about football. That's next. Get out your ibuprofen because our next guest is going to make your head hurt. And I mean that in the nicest, most complimentary way I possibly can. Kelley Ford, owner of KFordRatings.com, joining us here on the Fan Upstate. Kelley, I just want to know, how many bottles of his Lobos tequila did Matthew McConaughey send you? Because you've got the Texas Longhorns number 2 in your power ratings. Splitting hairs here for just a second, because I know Georgia and Texas or Texas and Georgia are 2 and 3 respectively. But explain where the model sees Texas as still superior to Georgia, despite Georgia having just dominated the Longhorns.
Yeah, well, Matthew McConaughey did not send me anything. So, yeah, I guess I need to follow up with him to get that for, as you said, keeping the Texas Longhorns above Georgia in the power ratings. I'll answer the question in a second, but I do just want to say, guys, it's really important, especially this time of year, and I know you guys know this and the listeners do too, the power ratings versus the most deserving rankings. And I do have Georgia number 1 in the most deserving rankings. Texas, remember, for me, Texas was not the number 1 deserving team last week. I know the AP had them 1. I had them number 7. So Texas is now down to number 14 for me with regard to their resume and how strong it is relative to the rest of college football teams. But if for me right now, if you're looking at, let me go to the unit ratings, because that'll give me an idea of what the model's thinking for Texas versus Georgia specifically. I have them very, very close on offense. I have Georgia number 7 on the offensive side of the ball. I have Texas number 8. Texas is down 5 spots from a week ago. And it's on the defensive side that my numbers still favor Texas by a little bit of a margin over Georgia. And I know we just played the game. I know it was in Austin. Georgia's getting full credit for that in the resume rankings, but I still have Texas's defense. Yes, they gave up 30 points. I would argue not all of these are on the defense. Texas is number 2 now on the defensive side of the ball for me, behind only Tennessee out of the SEC. Georgia is up 8 spots on that side of the ball after holding a good Texas offense to only 15. I have Georgia now number 7 on that side. But if we look at the totality of the season, how have these teams played? That's what the model's doing. Yes, it's adjusting for what we just saw, but keep in mind the first 6 games before that. That's what the model is still looking at and keeping Texas above Georgia for now in the power ratings. Although, to be fair, it is very close. Texas number 2, Georgia number 3 in the model.
Kelley Ford, K Ford Ratings. You've got to check his website out. It's awesome. KFordRatings.com. Something that I've been fascinated with, Kelley, is the at-large win thresholds with the total regular season wins required to be in the college football at-large discussion. We know that at-large discussion is going to continue to ramp up as the season nears its end. But is there any way, Kelley Ford, that you can pump some life into the team that you have in the 9-win required category, third from the right? It's a chicken surrounded by a sea. For those that don't know, South Carolina. Can you explain this at large thresholds when you talk about total regular season wins required? And is there any way the Gamecocks, I know it's a long shot, but is there any way they can continue to somehow make some magic happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And on the website, KFordRatings.com, on the CFP tab that you're referring to here, Cole, I update that every Thursday. So what you see on there right now does not account for the games we just saw this past weekend. You will see it. You will see an update tomorrow. And so that's gonna be coming. South Carolina's at-large threshold, what we're talking about here, didn't change from last week. It is possible, based on schedule difficulty, for teams to float between tiers. South Carolina is still in that 9 tier. And what that suggests is that by my power ratings, South Carolina's schedule is difficult to the level that 9 wins in the regular season should put them in the conversation. And like you said, that does not mean they're guaranteed a spot. But by my numbers, a 9-3 South Carolina should be in the conversation for an at-large bid. And that would be in comparison, to a 10-2 Texas or a 10-2 Ole Miss or a 10-2 Missouri, because South Carolina's schedule is about a 1 game more difficult, if you will, than Texas or Ole Miss or Missouri or even Tennessee. So South Carolina, to me, needs to reach 9 wins to be in the conversation. You're looking at the schedule now. They're 4-3. They are my highest ranked 3-loss team. They're number 24 in my most deserving ranking. So no other team out there with 3 losses has a more impressive resume than the Gamecocks for me. I have an 8% chance that South Carolina wins their next 5 games. And if we look at it, there's only 1 game that my numbers make the Gamecocks an underdog. I actually have the Gamecocks as a very slight favorite at home against Texas A&M, 53% win expectancy. It's the final game of the year at Clemson. That's the one that you're projecting as an underdog. Huge game there in the Palmetto State, I know. 8% chance for South Carolina to get their coal. And if they do, I hope the committee is going to consider them despite the fact that they would have 3 losses. That schedule is very, very difficult.
Kelley, I want to stay right there on that graphic and talk about Clemson and what it says specifically about Clemson. You say winning 11 games for Clemson gets them in to the CFP as an at-large team. They're 6-1 with potentially 6 more games to play. That's the 5 regular season games left in the ACC title game. Does your graphic account for conference championship games? And does that mean in the eyes of your numbers, at least, that Clemson can drop 2 more games and still get it as an at-large?
I'm really glad, Diesel, that you brought up Clemson, because as you look on the website right now and you do see Clemson all the way to the left on the 11-win tier, they actually, based on the updated numbers, have flipped again. They were 10 2 weeks ago. They were 11 last week. They are back to 10 wins for me in terms of the at-large conversation. So Clemson is right on that line, though, and it could change every single week. So I think Clemson fans should be hoping for 11 to feel really good about it. But as things stand this moment, and I'll update it tomorrow, Clemson, if they get to 10-2, should be, by my numbers, in consideration or in the discussion for that at-large. I've got a 63% chance that Clemson gets to at least 10 wins. Your second question there, does this graphic in particular on the at-large win thresholds on the CFP page account for conference championship games? No, it does not. This graphic is talking only about the regular season. So as you're going to see in the update tomorrow, I believe a 10-2 Clemson should be in that conversation. If Clemson is 10-2, I'm thinking they are probably going to be in the conference championship game, although we can't say for sure because SMU and Miami are both sitting there waiting to be in Charlotte as well. So that would get dicey for me in terms of if they drop a game, are they still going to make it to Charlotte? But for now, I think 10-2 gets Clemson in the conversation, and I've got a 63% chance that Clemson gets to at least 10 wins in the regular season. The Tigers are favored in each of their remaining games. However, 3 of the 5 left are projecting to be 1-possession games. That would be Louisville at home, Virginia Tech on the road, and we already talked about it, South Carolina in Week 14.
Kelley Ford, K4 ratings. He's the absolute best. Kelley, we've talked a good bit about Alabama, and we even asked you about him a couple of weeks ago in the Dynasty and what your numbers showed. But when you talk about playoffs, I said last week, Kelley, that the Alabama-Tennessee game was going to be crucial. The loser was going to be sitting on the outside, not really being able to control their own destiny. Now that Alabama is sitting on the outside after that loss to Tennessee, are their playoff chances still just that, chances?
I think Alabama, they're an interesting team. If Alabama gets back to playing the way we saw early in this year, really since from the Georgia game at halftime and before, everything since halftime of Georgia has been concerning. That includes the win against Georgia and the South Carolina close win 2 weeks after that. If Alabama gets back to playing what we're used to seeing Alabama play like in the first half of this year, as well as under Nick Saban, they're still going to be fine because a 10-2 Alabama, by my numbers, should be comfortably in the field as an at-large, if not through Atlanta. And now their chances of Atlanta are very slim. I even think still, given the schedule difficulty, like we talked about with South Carolina, I think Alabama at 9-3 still has a case and should be in the conversation. I'm just concerned based on the way they've been playing. I'm not sure Alabama's going to get to 9 wins. And that sounds crazy to say, but they're still number 4 in the power ratings, but the model cannot downgrade them fast enough as they've been playing here in recent weeks. So this is a big game this weekend. I do like them against Missouri, 88% win expectancy. If I actually had to put a number on it, take the model away, Kelley, what do you think? I probably put it closer to 75 or 80, but the model still has them at 88. They should be favored in this game. They are favored in this game. It's the road game at LSU. That's going to be really concerning. And then it's Auburn in the last week of the season. And right now, my numbers still have a 93% win expectancy for Alabama in that game. But that's a rivalry game. We've seen crazy things happen in the Iron Bowl. I think those are the 2 that I'm looking at saying, man, Alabama could drop those. And if they go 8-4, I don't think Alabama, even given the brand, their schedule this year is not difficult enough for them to be in that conversation at that stage.
Kelley, I'm going to ask you a question that should be relevant to everybody who's playing in our Upset Picks Challenge. What level of correlation or causation do you see between teams that are high on your overachievers list and their upset potential in games? I ask that because twice this season, I've picked teams that are high up on your overachievers list, and I've been burnt by both of them, and I cannot figure this out. Arizona State and Arkansas, both high up on that list, and both have burnt me.
Yeah, so Arizona State, it looks like right now, is in the top 10 of my overachievers. Arkansas, probably, I'm counting in my head, top 25, top 30. So the overachievers list, I would not recommend using that as a primary source, a resource for betting purposes or the upset pick challenge. What that list is really saying is, in the preseason, the model had a projection for every single team. And it is what it is, and we froze it before week 0. I then keep track, okay, based on the preseason expectations, we expected every single team to have X number of wins at this stage. How many wins do they actually have? And so the model's updating as we go, but that preseason expectation was frozen. It doesn't change. So right now, BYU is number 1 on this list. BYU has won 4 more games at this stage than we expected. So basically, the model expected BYU to be about 3-4 right now. Well, they're 7-0. And so they're playing much better than the model projected. The model's accounting for that as we move forward. So my projected line, probably going to be close to Vegas's line because we're both Vegas and K Ford model making adjustments as we go. But this over-under achievers list is who is doing better or worse than we thought when we came into this year. No surprise, probably, guys. The number 1 underachiever right now remains Florida State, about 3.5 fewer wins than we thought at this stage. Air Force, actually interesting. I don't think a lot of people are talking about Air Force. Maybe it's because they're not a Power 4. Maybe it's because they're a service academy. I don't know. Air Force, though, on the same tier as Florida State in that graphic, having a very, very disappointing season relative to the preseason expectations.
Kelley, I'm glad you mentioned Air Force and the Service Academy because that's where I was going next. 2 teams that are playing really well right now. I just don't know, like, your models are fantastic, but I don't know that we as college football fans can remember a time that we've seen Navy and Army both playing so well. And, you know, based on your ratings, based on your model, I want to know from your model, do we believe that these 2 teams are on a path to really – because Diesel and I have talked about this. Are these 2 teams on a path to actually be in contention, or is this just going to be a nice Cinderella run?
I think this is an amazing story. You love to see it. I mean, what year is this? 1945, right. When, you know, World War II is going on, and these are the 2 programs that are really stepping up because they have the most agile and athletic guys in the entire country. It's a great story, and I love to see it. And right now, if we look at my American Athletic Conference projections for the conference standings, I do project Army to be in the conference championship game, to host the conference championship game against Tulane. Navy, for me, is number 3. So just missing out there. Of course, these 2 teams are going to play in the annual Army-Navy game, but that's after the College Football Playoff Selection Committee reveals the field. So we don't really consider that when we're doing our projections for the CFP at-large conversation. I don't think either of these teams, guys, is going to be in the college football playoff. I don't. They certainly still have a path because they're both still undefeated, and they both play Notre Dame. And if they finish that way and they win their conference championship, then yeah, they're going to be at a minimum the G5 representative. And so there's a path there. My numbers think Army needs to finish undefeated in the regular season to be in the conversation. It gives them an 8% chance to do so. Obviously, Notre Dame is the big roadblock there. Same thing with Navy. Think you need to finish undefeated. Only a 2% for the midshipmen. They're power rated a little bit lower. They've got Notre Dame, and they also have to play Tulane. Army does not play Tulane. I think that's a big differentiation there. But no, I don't expect these 2 teams to be in the college football playoff. They do have a path, though, so credit to them. And guys, in my most deserving rankings, which is what I care about the most all year, but especially as we get closer to the end, I have Navy number 25 in the country and Army number 30. So they've certainly put together great seasons. Navy's got a huge test here this weekend. Army is off this week, and then they get Air Force after their bye. So it's going to be interesting, but I don't expect to see either of these teams in the playoff. I hope I'm wrong. It could be kind of cool. I'm not sure how competitive of a game it would be, but it would certainly be a great story.
Kelley, I want to ask you one quick qualifying question before I get to my real question here. Are your mulligan lists, are those also updated on Thursdays, or have those already been updated?
Those have been, those get updated on Thursdays as well because they are on the CFP page. Okay, so now that to that level, to that point, Texas is now down to just 1 mulligan available to them, right? You had them at 2. They should be down to 1 mulligan available. Does it matter who that mulligan loss is to? So if Texas were to lose to a bad Florida, for example, that would be 2 straight home losses for Texas, and one of those even coming off of a bye. Is there a little extra sauce on a potential loss to Florida at home, or is it just 2 mulligans regardless of who it's against? I love the questions you guys are asking. These are so great, and it's so much easier for me to explain, on the radio or on the YouTube than it is in a tweet. Texas, you're right, they will be down to one mulligan when I post this tomorrow. And what that means is Texas still, by my model, is favored in each of their remaining games. Their at-large win threshold is 10, given their schedule difficulty. So I think Texas needs to get to 10-2 to be in the at-large conversation. If they were to win each of the games in which they are remaining, they would get to 11. Therefore, they have a mulligan. That's how you get that one mulligan, gets to 10 wins. Your question, though, that my answer is no. It does not matter to whom Texas loses. It could be Florida, it could be Arkansas, it could be Kentucky, Texas A&M, or Vanderbilt. The numbers don't care. And here's why, guys, because 10-2, that's the record that Texas needs to be in the conversation by my numbers. 10-2 is 10-2 against the same schedule. It doesn't matter where those two losses are because, for example, if you lost to Florida, that means you beat Arkansas, A&M, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. If you lose to Texas A&M, that means you beat Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky. So people will say, well, it matters if you have good wins versus bad losses. But your record is your record against your schedule. It's just the combination, the mix of how many good wins, how many bad losses. But at the end of the day, reaching a 10-win threshold against Texas's schedule is equally difficult no matter what that mix is to get to 10 wins. So for me, no, it doesn't matter. Does it matter to the committee who brings a subjective viewpoint? Possibly. But from a mathematical standpoint, 10-2 against Texas's record is 10-2 against Texas's schedule, I should say.
Kelley, great stuff as always, man. Our Tolos love you. We love you. We appreciate you coming on with us. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Diesel, sports in the fall, you go through this like emotional swing. I love the fall. I love sports in the fall. I love football, but I'll tell you what I hate. I hate that right there.
Sucks, right?
Looking outside, and it's dark by 7 o'clock, and then a few weeks from now it'll be dark by 5:30. That's the worst part. Like, if you rank the 10 worst things that happen in a calendar year, like not just like rare occurrences, but the things that happen every year, that's got to be number one.
Falling backwards
is
awful. These greedy SOBs who want to keep their sunshine in the morning and take away the sunshine from those of us who live life in the afternoons. I can't stand you. I can't stand you people. It's greedy. You know it. Cole, like, who even invented daylight savings time anyway? Why do we do, like, we did it to start to give the farmers more time to pick up their crops in the summertime, right? And then we go back. Why are we going back?
But I just don't like even the time thing. I hear you, but I don't like it. I don't like it being dark earlier, and we can't change that.
It's depressing.
We can't not make it dark. If we didn't have daylight savings, it'd be an hour difference. But I don't like even an hour. I like summertime, it being dark around 8:45, 9 o'clock. That's up my alley. I don't want it being dark this early. And then especially, I just don't know, like, people who enjoy daylight savings and it being dark early in the night or early in the afternoon or evening, something's wrong with you.
Can go to hell.
Something's wrong with you in the head, man. There's nobody out there. And I have people I know that are like, oh, I love when it gets dark so early, man. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's just cozy. No,
I want to be able to do stuff after I get off work.
But you can't now.
You can't. So, like, my choices in the fall and the winter and the early spring are I have to get up early and I have to do things before I get work done if I want to get anything done in the daytime, in the summertime.
DB on the YouTube stream says, I am not one for the sun. I like the dark. DB,
okay,
what?
Bane from Superman or from Batman.
What's
wrong with you?
How do you like I don't know, man. There's nothing pleasant about it being dark early. I don't care if it gets dark at 5 or 6, like the whole daylight. I just don't want it dark at all. I don't want it dark at all until about 9.
We need to start a Tolo petition, Cole. Start getting a hold of our state congressional members, our state representatives, who I don't have a clue. I don't think I can name one single South Carolina state representative. Honestly, y'all are useless. You should be coming to us. You should make sure we know your name. Otherwise, most people don't give a rip in the state legislature. But we need to get a hold of those people and say, come on, South Carolina, let's end this tyranny of early darkness, and let's be the first state in the union to abolish daylight savings time.
But then again, like, I'm for it, but then again, it's only going to be 1 hour difference.
Still, at least we get that hour back.
So instead of it being dark at 5:30-ish during the winter, it'd be dark at 6:30, right?
That's better than nothing.
It's better. I just want it. I don't know. I just don't understand the whole, like, look, I'm not one for nature and what. I don't understand all that stuff. I don't like that it gets dark early. Solstice and all that kind of wintertime. Nah, I like the wintertime. I like how it feels. I like fall. I like, snow. We don't see snow in the upstate anymore, but this whole getting dark.
Thanks a lot, global warming.
Yeah, this getting dark early stuff, man, it's for the birds. It is for the birds.
I'm going to tell you, Cole, having been on the radio here in this day part for 5 years now, it gets really depressing in the wintertime.
Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell our boss that during the winter, we want to be on, different time slot.
I love it.
We don't need to be on.
Let's take Rome off the air. Let's time shift Rome, put him on in the afternoon.
That's right.
And it's still summertime where he is anyway.
During the winter months, during daylight savings, we'll be 12 to 3, and then we'll go back eventually. He wouldn't care, right? I'm sure he'd be all for that. Yeah. He'd be all for it.
Totally fine.
Oh, boy, we had fun today.
Tolos, you're awesome. We came 3 picks away from hitting our goal of 75 today, which means you got to pick it up tomorrow. Tolo.
Tolo.